Fucking annoys me. Fucking.
I have bad news. That's definitely the start of the podcast because there's nothing we could do better than starting off with Jess doing her dumb girl voice.
I really hope that's not going to be
That's just how
like
I
a recurring theme.
No, this is the only time that's ever happened. So you really inspired that level of.
Oh my God.
Jess, tell them where they at.
Welcome to the Damaged Goods podcast with myself, Jess Robert, and hip hop / neo blues artist Ill Vibe.
Wow, I love it. You get better every week.
Ill Vibe's new album, Anti-Gravity, comes out on April 20th, which is the same day as the album release party with your live band joining you for the first time. If you're going to be in Toronto or the Toronto area at that time, email us at damagedgoodspod@gmail.com and we'll put you on the guest list.
Yeah, guest list is popping right now. I'm really excited about it. A lot of friends, a lot of industry peeps. Are you going to come?
I'm going to come for sure.
Man, my band is so fucking good, bro.
I believe you.
I don't
How much would suck if they just were really bad?
listen, because the way it happened is Dan Stab, who's my guitarist, reached out to me. Yeah. Well, listen, that's his name. I think you're being borderline racist right now.
And Stab, was he Hungarian?
I don't know. Why? What's Hungarian people stab people?
I don't know. That just sounds like a Hungarian name.
I love that the podcast started with us with like you laughing at like 13 because the people at home were like, "Who is this fucking guy?" Who's just
Weirdo.
I didn't get through my intro.
So keep going.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Keep going.
Big thanks
Too
as
much
always.
shameless plugs for live albums.
Big thanks as always to lyricvids.com, the web's #1 lyric video animation company.
Yup.
We
Bop,
have a
bop.
new poster, as you can see in the background for those of you watching video, Ready Player One poster. If you're an artist and think your work would look awesome in our studio, show us what you got, send it to that same email, and we'd love to take a look. Today we have a very special guest.
What's up?
Some of you might know him as Tragic of Philly Moves, but we know him as Friend, as Tynan. Do you know what's funny? I think I think I'm like the only one who still calls you Tragic. I haven't like moved over to Tynan yet.
Yeah, my nanas does as well.
That's amazing.
That's cool about the art thing, by the way. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if.
The space is a big part of it, right? So we added the Ready Player One poster. Have you seen Ready Player One yet?
No, I've heard it's good.
So good, and it's one of my favorite movies I've seen in a long time. So we fully like grabbed the poster on the way out,
Nice.
and even put it up on the wall. That's how much we liked
Such
it.
nerds.
Yeah, we watched it in IMAX. That was my first. I think it was my first IMAX movie
IMAX experience.
with like the giant screen.
The IMAX experience.
That's Avatar in
IMAX.
IMAX.
The IMAX.
The IMAX experience.
Oh, you're better than me.
You guys have actually on my list of things to talk about is both of your really like.
Can you give us an IMAX experience?
No,
Say it.
no,
No,
okay.
just
Do the annoying girl voice though.
your IMAX experience.
imagine that came up at the beginning of the movie.
Whoa.
But yeah, you both have really like unique voices. Have either of you done any like voiceover work?
I mean, I do all kinds of content, so
Yeah.
little bits of
But
here
have
and
you
there,
specifically done like for like a cartoon, say,
You know
type
what?
thing?
No, but this seems like a really fun time to talk about the time that Best Buy paid me to come in
Oh, yeah.
and rap their jingle. So Best Buy had a jingle. I imagine they don't continue to use it all the time. But it was like, throw it in the bag, throw it in the bag. And so I get a contact from Fontana, and they say, hey, Best Buy wants you to come into the studio. They're going to pay you. They pay you like $500 or something, like not life changing, but a little bit of money, right?
Yeah.
To come into the studio and sing a jingle. And so they sent it to me in advance. I was like, okay. And then I went in, I did it a bunch of times, and I have like a voice. It's not like regular white boy rap voice. And I just kept thinking like, if they heard my music at all, or if they're up here doing Canadian rappers at all, it'll be pretty good. And so they were enjoying it, but then what ended up happening is the whole time they kept trying to get me. Kept playing me this like Texas accent one, and they're like, "Make it sound like this." And I'm
Like
I
they
don't
really had an idea of what a rapper
I don't have a
was.
Texas accent, but they're like, "So here's the problem: is that we have this Texas guy doing it, and we love it, but we don't think Canadian people will relate to a Texas accent."
So can you do
So
the
can you
Texas
do the Texas accent?
Well, no, but they wanted me to. You know, how advertising
They
people
wanted to
like,
harness that.
can you do it without doing it? And here's the problem: I kept thinking the whole time, like, people in Canada love the Texas accent.
Yeah, that would be a huge
Like that's
seller.
that's Houston. That's like the whole TI thing or whatever. Like, anyways, so I don't whatever. I just got my $500 and they didn't use it. But that Christmas, I was at your house
Yeah,
in
and
Niagara
you
Falls,
heard it. You
and I
heard
heard and they went with the fucking Texas guy.
That's
So they paid a bunch of Canadian rappers to come in and do it.
try it?
And
Yeah.
then they're like, no, you know what? Just do this. Just use the Texan.
let's just
dude.
keep the-
Throw it in the bag. Throw it in the bag.
Can you try the Texas accent right now?
I don't know how to do it. I'm bad at accents. That's not
Every one of my
my.
accent sounds the same. I have
Yeah,
like one
Anthony's are
standard.
all Russian. Yeah.
It starts as other things, but
Yeah,
it always ends in bro.
Have you done any voiceover stuff?
Similar kind of story. I went and did this. It was like I don't know, Daryl from UrbNet, same kind of thing. He emailed me and was like, hey, this company needs. What he told me was they want someone with your exact sound to go and sing this like jingle. I can't remember what it was, but the song was "One of these things is not like the other." I don't know what it was. I can't remember what it was for, but I went and it turned out it was all like classically trained singers and then me.
That's kind of like the last thing I would like put your voice with.
And so everyone was just shocked that I was there, like trying to sing this. They were like, can you just like sing it more? Can you like be more of a singer? I'm
Bro.
like, I'm not a singer. Like,
That is the pilot episode of your sitcom. I just want to see you go out on
actually, like,
auditions.
one of my like low points of my artistic career, just how embarrassed I was. Because it was like a room full of people and you were just auditioning with like,
You know
with
what?
everyone.
That's one thing that we're as rappers. That we're really lucky about is you hear a lot of times actors and comedians who act talk about the grueling experience of auditioning for stuff, and just like you have to put so much of yourself into it before you know if you got it.
Oh yeah, you can spend 5 years being told you suck before you.
And I mean for every one specific job, right? So it's like it's not just like you go to one audition and you find out they like you. It's not like one date. It's more like you go on 3 dates, pull your dick out, put it on a table. Her and all her friends like analyze it. We'll call
Lipstick
you.
on it.
Hey, can you send us more dick pics from different
Make
angles?
it really small.
And then at the
for
end they
us.
go, we found someone with a way bigger dick. And you're just like, that's not cool. So that's acting. But rapping isn't like that.
You kind of like it is what it is, and if you don't like it, no problem.
No problem.
But this is what I do.
And yeah, you might get shot. That's the downside. Because if you don't like it, and then they might react in that moment. But in other
Realistically, we both know a lot of like really terrible rappers that have been able to keep rapping for years, but and with no one telling them that they suck.
Bro, I think in anything that has a low barrier of entry, comedy, rap,
Oh, yeah.
dance, there's going to be people who it's all charisma, all drive,
Yeah.
no raw talent. Then in rapping, the Kendrick gene, where it's just like everything you say is genius from the minute you write it. You know what I mean? Not everybody has that. I always say I don't have the Kendrick gene. Like for me, it's always been about like I really like making music. I like sharing my ideas. I'm here. I find myself on this crazy planet, and my favorite thing to do is write and share ideas and record and perform. And then podcasting is like a new thing that we add into that little pie. And so that's why I do it. And then it's about getting better and better at it. That's always been my story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's somewhat your story, right? Because for people who don't know you, it's a good segue. For many years, you were the lead MC in one of Canada's most, what's the right way to say it? You were buzzing. You were, there was a lot of talk about you.
Refuse to go away.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's part of it. But I just mean that there was a minute when I first met you where it was like, hey, these guys might be next up. There was a real energy around it. And so only just because, hey, for people listening to you right now from the podcast, and for people who maybe who don't know you, you don't have a new single out this week that we're promoting today on the podcast. So in saying that, tell us a little bit about that. So how many years did you do Philly Moves for? And let's say until now, because you're technically Philly Moves is still together, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're still making music.
Yeah.
But we're not really doing all this other stuff.
What year did you guys start?
I would say 2000. I think it was 2008. We put out like an EP. or
Sure.
2008, and then 2008 we put out an EP, and then we didn't really start touring and stuff until 2009, I guess. 2010.
2008 is 10 years ago, by the way.
Wow.
Crazy
I
when
know.
you think about that. Because
Yeah.
2008, it's like, oh, a few years ago. But it's just like, no, it's
wait a
10.
minute, that's a decade.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird.
And when did Olga was the last album?
Yeah, that was 2016.
2016?
Or 2015.
So you guys had a good 8-year run of going really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And right now you're kind of on some life shit. Is that the best way to say it, right? Because you
Yeah.
got married this year.
Yeah, I got married.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Maya's beautiful and awesome.
Thank you.
She should also come on the podcast.
Yeah, she will.
sometime.
Well, we'll have her soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We had to split them up because we don't know that many cool people.
We also don't have enough microphones.
Listen, I should have gone with that one. It would have burned less bridges.
Yeah, I hate to be one of those like, oh, I'm a washed up rapper who got
Not
married
even.
and blah,
No,
blah,
not even.
blah. Like that's not the reason, you know. And Maya would be mad if she thought it sounded like she was the reason. Cause
Not even close. That's not. No, that's not even at all. If anything, my take is being a friend of yours and kind of meeting you, and I met you at the crescendo of your career when things were really heating up. I remember this is fun. One of the first times I saw you, you took your shirt off and like dumped a bottle of water over your head, and I was like, oh, he's a sex symbol.
It was in slow motion.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's a sex symbol. It was the first time I had
why
like
do people like this guy?
made no, that's not what I mean. But you had a heavy female fan base. Girls were screaming, and local rap shows, that's not the deal. That's just not usually the deal. And then so there was a day where I remember I saw you do that, and I was like, oh, that's not the reaction I would get. Like definitely there would be no like screaming if I poured water on my head.
Girls fainting in the
No, they would just get out of the way. It's like, hey, no hate, but let me just stand over here. This is logical. I might spray them.
Where did you guys first meet?
Oh,
we met in high school. Me and Johnny, or me and Anthony.
Oh, you and Anthony, but also you and Johnny as well.
I don't know, where did we first meet? I think we first met at like the Crawford or some
yeah, it was one of those
crazy indie show. There was like 6 people, and me and you were two of the 6.
Yeah, it was definitely like College Street show.
Yeah,
You know,
I loved the Crawford. It's gone now, I think.
Somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody introduced us too. I don't know who it was, or we had spoken online or something. I think first, and then it was like one of those.
Yeah,
hey,
my recollection is
This is a really bad first meeting story.
no, it's good. No, because he doesn't remember because he was famous at the time.
Maybe online.
No.
I just don't remember anything.
I remember it was. I don't know if it was Indie Week or a show like that, but it was definitely
Something like that. I think it was Indie Week.
Promoted local indie rap show, different than like local rap. Like goon shows. It was not one of those.
Yeah.
And I think it was Indie Week because it was like 3 or 4 acts, and I was excited because at the time I had heard about Philly Moves. Philly Moves is one of those names where I'm like, is it 8 guys? I don't know. I didn't know you guys. So then I would ever see the name on the poster. That's probably when I would have added you on social media. Yeah. Knowing me and my ASAS networking skills, I probably sent you a what's up before, and then I went and saw him live. And then I really was just like, because one of the things I do best, even better than I rap, is I recognize talent when I see it. It's why when you know Meyer Clarity and everything, from the minute I met him, I'm like, this motherfucker got talent. And Megan Nora, and I'm great at when I meet somebody, I'm like, oh, this person has something special. And same thing when I met you. I was just like, out of this local rap scene full of wannabes, these guys are really doing something, a unique sound. This guy's got like that X Factor chemistry and like charisma on stage, and just like recognizing that for what it was. And so I remember thinking really early on, like, oh, these are people I want to know. You know, in the music business. I'm cool with the wannabes. Like, man, for years I like kick it at whatever level. I don't care whatever level of seriousness you take it. But in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe if I get my shit together and I get my sound together, I could really make a go of it. And so you try to keep in mind those people who maybe could do that also. And to me, you guys always had that in you. You know?
My first time meeting Tynan was when you and I were first
Loving
dating.
this.
I don't know if you'll remember, and it was the posse cut that you guys did at the old apartment. Do you remember this? Yeah. So
Duke Buzzy was
yeah,
there too?
yeah.
Dynamic.
Shout out Duke Buzzy. Shout out Dynamic.
Yep. So I remember you invited me over. We'd only been dating for a few weeks. And I remember you being like,
Just
"Oh,
brought her into the gauntlet." Eh?
Yeah, we're gonna be rapping the whole time. So is that okay?" And I remember it was actually like a really big deal for me because I've always been like one of the guys type girl. So when I meet a guy who's like wants to exclude me from stuff like that, it's like an instant turn off. I'm just like, oh, I'm not allowed to be at your little rap party. Okay, well then I'm not gonna be in your life. Oh my god. I'm currently knocking stuff off our walls right now.
Already?
I'm getting so
Wow.
excited.
Just got started.
But yeah, that was a really big deal to me. I was like, oh, cool. I can come watch you guys like rap. That's really cool. So yeah, I remember that was my first time meeting you. And then shortly after, did you want to touch on that?
No, I was just going to say how much fun we had in that house.
Oh,
Yeah.
That the basement, like you're like the room down there, the rap room.
So for listeners, just to set it up, and we're going to come back, I just want to do a quick little like Family Guy style loop and come right back into it.
Of course.
I had a house in Toronto, which is hard to get, right? Because it's expensive to get a house. So I got really lucky in that it was this weirdly shaped house where the basement wasn't really rentable. Like the guy who made the house tried to like make it a separate unit. But I'm making a point. It was this huge house space that we got for a really reasonable amount of money. And so we had a front yard, a backyard, a front porch, a big back porch. And that was the time in my life where right until I met Jess, I was the most single. I was the most just like hanging. I wasn't into anything serious. You know what I mean? Cold lamping, man. The lamp was officially cold. And so right before I met you, and then right when you came in so like seamlessly, and that's why we're so great together, it was just that time where it was like, I would message 30, 40, 50 of my favorite people and be like, hey, I don't have a job. I don't know what you guys are doing tomorrow night, but I'm having people over. And there were some nights, man, where we had ciphers and we would make songs, and some of us took the business more serious than others, but it really felt like it was just like free, man. We really kicked it, and there was a lot of very relaxed hip hop shit going down between like MCing, but not that like in your face rapping or battle rapping or negativity. It was just almost, you know what I mean? It was just like
It's like when you watch those like documentaries about like, oh, like the Doors used to hang out with like fucking so and so, and it's just like videos of them chilling in a place. I'm like, yeah, that's like what we were doing.
Totally.
It was a really special time. And then when Jess came in, it was supernatural. And what I love is like you brought people with you. Like I remember you brought Donnie Yonder to the one party.
Yeah.
And of course, listeners that won't know Donnie Yonder unless maybe you like hang out with him in Cuba.
But he will be on the podcast.
We're gonna have him soon as well.
What a nice looking guy.
Just like he's great.
So handsome.
Guy. But like just cool people who live on kind of the edge of like traditional society and rules.
Totally.
And those are my favorite people. And when you have a spot like we had there, and then me and Jess being kind of like this like unit in the middle, we came across so many cool motherfuckers that came through there over the years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you and Johnny were two of them. And I'm glad that you're still here.
My second memory of Tynan was going on the camping trip that we went on. That was pretty early on in our relationship as well.
Oh, yeah. That was early. That was like, you guys had just kind of started dating then.
Yeah,
that was a pretty bold move on your
after
part.
the posse cut, but very shortly after. Yeah.
Well, we got together in March, so certainly it would have been a couple of months. But still.
Yeah, totally. And then Grady was there as well, and that was I think, was it your first time meeting Grady as well, or
no? I met Grady. The way I met Grady, who's someone else we'll have on the podcast one day,
he was pretty jealous.
He actually came to a show of mine and said that somebody had told him, now that you're in Toronto, one of the guys to see is Ill Vibe.
Yeah.
So I met him at one of my shows, and I believe you met him in a similar way.
Yeah.
But you got to know him at.
But that's certainly where we really
hit it off.
Yeah. Formed the bonds.
Do you remember the incident that happened that night with like the screaming in the woods?
Of course. The murderous scream in the middle of the woods.
So
we're all high on mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
So we all did like not a ridiculous amount, but like we all did a small amount.
Yeah. So we probably did like 2 grams and you did like a half gram.
Yeah. So we were all on just a little bit of mushrooms. We were all a little bit high, and all of a sudden there was screaming in the forest. Like just like not saying words, not saying help, which was like the only thing comforting me. So I found the sound, and I'm gonna play it for you right now.
What is it? Was it an animal?
Yes.
Oh, really?
That's terrifying.
So what is that?
I don't know if it's these mushrooms, guys, but I think I hear screams.
Is it gonna do one more?
That was
so
basically
basically, that's exactly what it was, and what it is, it's a fox mating call. It just basically sounds like shrieking, like like being like someone being stabbed.
That's what Jess does when she wants to mate. It's like female James Brown.
Hopefully you can sleep better at night now.
Yeah,
Would you like any marijuanas or no?
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of marijuana. Why not? When in Rome, right?
So on that trip, one of the things that was a constant, or that began at that time, was not a good band name.
I use that daily still.
Did you guys use not a good band name before the camping trip, or do you think that's where it was born?
I think the joke started before, but
it really came into its own then.
The idea that we could make everything not a good band name.
Yeah.
Was
So explain, like, give an example for the listener.
it's hard to here's an ashtray.
Here's an ashtray. Good band name.
Yeah, here's an ashtray, not a good band name. So at the time the joke was that's my band name, or that's a good band name, or Tynan would say that's the name of my 3-piece like banjo quartet.
Yeah.
And then later it would actually flip to not a good band name.
Not a good band name. I find not a good band name is like you can use it more often.
Well, of course.
It's also
Yeah.
funnier too.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on the nature of the jokes. You know what I mean? It depends on what somebody says.
Yeah.
And sometimes and then there's little extensions like that's the name of my autobiography.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. So if somebody says something really clever, like little 3-word flip, and you're like, oh, that's, I'm gonna open up an ice cream shop. That'll be the title. It's like it's such a timeless joke that delivers. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Another thing that's kind of similar that me and Anthony have been doing lately is they'd be at the same oral, yeah.
Less lately, actually.
Is seeing an actor and being like, oh, is that so and so? And being like, no, but they'd be at the same auditions. Like we always say, like, or I'll be like, oh, babe, does that actress look like me? And you'd be like, no, but you'd go to the same auditions.
Is that Jared Leto? No, Jake Gyllenhaal would be at that.
Yeah, be at the same auditions. Exactly. It works for a lot.
These are the games we play.
Fuck Jared Leto, though. You know what I mean? I'm calling Jared Leto out right now.
Wow.
Wow.
Air.
What is it about Jared Leto that
He looks like the kind
grinds
of guy that would,
your gears?
He would sleep with your girlfriend and then to convince you it was your fault somehow.
Wow. That's so specific.
Or he would put roofies in a girl's drink, but then not have the jam to actually bang her.
Just like let her have a bad night.
Wow.
He's too much of a coward to follow through.
Well, that's definitely the snippet that we're posting for sure.
Fuck Jared Leto. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, for real though. Maya just thinks he's hot, so now I can't like him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair.
I've talked to the girls.
Jess likes Jeff Goldblum, so it's a whole different
Maya
situation.
also loves Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, but sexually,
I don't know. Every time she sees him, she's like, "Oh, Jeff Goldblum."
but like that, like sexually,
like that, even hotter than that.
Wow.
It's funny that I've never dated a Jewish guy. Jeff Goldblum's Jewish, correct? I'm guessing Goldblum is like the Jewish.
Definitely Jewish. I don't know if he's.
It's funny that I've never dated a Jewish guy with how many Jewish actors I'm into, or at least Jewish looking actors that I'm into. I like Adam Driver. Do you know who that is?
Yep. Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
I like him. I don't know if he's Jewish, but he could definitely pass as Jewish.
He looks a lot like my buddy Steve.
I love
In today's
Adrian
segment
Brody.
of
Same
guys
thing.
who look Jewish enough for Jess to want to fuck them.
Yeah,
Adrian
no.
Brody? What? Adrian Brody's got one of those it's like when you see a puppy that's so ugly that it's
Yes,
cute.
yes.
That's Adrian Brody.
So, question: this isn't anti-Semitism, but is this pro-Semitism?
I think it's just Semitism.
Okay.
It just evens itself out.
Well,
yeah.
listen, I'm not a cuck, but if you're Jewish and good looking and have a bankroll, holler.
Holla at my girl.
I would let Adam drive.
Did
Put
you
it
just
this
say
way.
I'm not a cuck?
No, I'm not a cuck.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, you don't know what cucking is?
Is it people say a cuck though, not like a
Oh,
cuckold?
bro, for sure.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like people on Twitter, if you put hashtag cuck right now, it's a rabbit hole you want to
Hasn't
know.
hasn't it been deemed as offensive or no?
Oh, it's super offensive.
Oh, okay.
But people would just be like if you support Hillary and you're blind to her emails or whatever, they'll
Then
be
you're a
like,
cuck?
yeah, you cuck. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
so they just overuse it for
it's
everything. But saying it
hilarious.
for the original thing, so saying it for a guy who likes to watch another guy fuck his wife, is that okay to say? or
I'm
no?
revolutionary. I took the one and applied it to the other. I think I'm breaking new ground here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But people on Twitter say cuck all day long.
Oh, okay.
You cuck.
Like the internet is so
sounds
full
like
of that.
Is
Sounds
it
like
the
an
official
inappropriate
term for that thing?
We have to ask the Cuck Society
Yeah,
if that's
I
the
don't
official
know.
term. I don't
If
know.
somebody from Oxford or Rogettes or something.
Do you remember when Eskimos all got together and said no more? We'd
Yeah.
like to be called Inuits.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Is there
Meetings of some
do
sort.
you know what I mean? Is there a group that gets together? They say no more.
I think it's probably just years of not appreciating.
No, I understand culturally how it gets
It would
together.
just
The
be
word is
like-
not okay.
There must be a meeting.
But it felt so official. Like we got a memo from
Yeah,
the
it's
Inuits, and it was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, heads up, we've
Yeah.
changed words."
I'm 20. How did I get this in my email inbox?
Yeah, you made it past all my spam filters.
This did not end up in junk mail. I got this.
Yeah, so-
my mom forwarded
And memo
it to me,
received.
too, after.
And listen, memo received. They did a better job than maybe anybody because people shifted.
Yeah, people stopped using it.
Even racists are they like to be called Inuits. Even racist people are like, let's not call them Eskimos.
Hitler's down in hell fucking correcting John Wayne Gacy.
It's
Not me.
Inuits. Eskimo means
like
eater of raw fish. That's offensive.
You fucking.
So here's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
If any other group like the Cucks want to change their
Who
name,
would be offended by this? The people, the husbands who actually do like it? Are they the
don't
ones
know.
who are offended?
I don't
Actually,
think
it's kind of a confusing question because I don't feel like they would be.
No, I think it's just
I
like
think getting
whatever.
offended is their thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Getting offended is what turns them on.
Yeah, it's like,
This
call me a
conversation,
cuck while you're doing
yeah,
it.
they're jerking off to this conversation right now.
I bet there's quite a few people drinking off.
But this is the important part that I think we're missing. If the Cucks want to change their name and let us know that calling them that's not okay, they need to speak with whoever handled the Inuit name change.
The Inuit PR.
Yes.
Inuit PR person.
I
all I'm saying.
I like how you wrap that up and put a little.
That's what I do.
bow on
That's
it.
what- I'll put a little cock ring on
What I'm
it.
saying is what they need to do.
Listen,
That was good.
Jess, take us home.
So a listener emailed us about how much they enjoyed hearing Anthony talk about quitting his day job on
They
the last
didn't.
episode. Yeah, they did. And then they'd
so
like to
fucking
hear
happy
more
right
about
now.
the perks of running our own business. But instead, I think we should skip that for today just because we did cover it a lot last episode. Instead, I'd like to touch on the exact opposite, and that's the worst jobs and the worst job experiences we've ever had.
Oh.
Okay.
So I'll start
It's
it
funny that
off.
Tynan's here because for me it was waxing his back.
For me, it was also you waxing my back.
Wait, whose job was it?
Well, no,
Who was paying who?
I paid him to wax his back.
It was an experience for both of us.
Sorry, so go.
So my worst job was working at a call center in my hometown that sold credit card protection. But it was the scam. We didn't actually sell that. It was basically selling a package to people that like told them more about it, and they like paid a fee to get this like package. And it was like, but we had to like say it really quickly. And the only people who bought it was old people and people who didn't speak good English. And if we sold everyone that we sold per day, we would get our name put in like a bucket, and then they would pull names, and you could leave 15 minutes early at the end of the night. And then the job sucked so much that it was like, that was the only thing keeping you there was like, I'm going to fucking trick all these people so that I can leave early. It was so draining and soul crushing.
Awful.
It's so crazy to think that even like you're so smart, you're so powerful, you do so much great, and then I think at some point you were like, listen, as long as I can get home 15 minutes early.
As long as I can fool enough old people to get me home early.
By the way, me snapping my finger in the air was actually what we had to do, because if we felt like we were starting to trick someone, we had to call over like a supervisor to come like close it or whatever.
That makes so much sense because when Jess and I are arguing and she lies,
I'm just like,
if I fall for it, she starts snapping her
I just come
fingers.
over.
as I can feel that I'm starting to trick you. Just fucking
Wow, makes so much sense.
That sounds horrible.
So that was my worst job.
I've had many fucking terrible jobs. I'm not gonna lie. I probably had 72 different jobs.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I don't mean like career paths. I mean like literal places that I went and like put a day of work in.
Wow.
Maybe even
was
more
it?
than that.
Did you do like temp agency stuff?
No, I just would like.
Was your life just kind of like a temp agency for a
Yeah,
little while?
essentially, yeah. I worked at. You remember the guys? Remember Buffalo Charlie's, that old restaurant?
Of course we don't.
It was like.
Nobody, Tynan, nobody remembers
I
Buffalo.
nodded. I nodded at
1890.
being polite. I was just like, oh yeah.
I could
No.
tell it was fake.
Let me speak on behalf of all of our listeners. Nobody's heard of Buffalo Charlie.
Buff Chucks. We used to call them Buff Chucks.
Of course you did, as you would.
I worked there for a shift as a dishwasher.
Let me bartend for you.
Please,
over here.
thank you. And it was so shitty. I remember I was like 16, and the guy, like the cook there, thought he was on a fucking episode of like Hell's Kitchen or something, screaming at everybody. And again, I'm like grade 10. All I want to do is smoke weed and like try to finger bang my girlfriend.
That's all I want to do right now, baby.
And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna like take off for my lunch break, and I just walked out and never fucking went back.
Wow.
That was probably the worst, like as far as like mentally hating the guy. But I've had worse actual jobs. But that was the like I hated that.
Oh, for sure.
I was like 40.
There could be a good job, and a person there or people there could make it the worst job.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Best job in the world, and if someone's always putting something in my ass, it's not the worst job in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Extreme example, but I think you follow me.
Exactly.
My worst job. Listen, I'm struggling.
Because you had a lot.
Whoa. No, I have some really good ones. I don't have a lot of bad ones, but the few bad ones I had, there was a part of my life where if you were to graph my life, it would go like this. It's up, 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 and then it went down for a while, and then up. In this little area right
Cesspool.
here, cesspool is right.
The crevasse.
The crevasse.
The job I'm not going to talk about is the one where I raked
Male prostitute.
I raked gravel into bags.
So people could buy bags of gravel?
Yes. Because what would happen is they would fill the bags of gravel up, and then not all of it would go in the bag, so it would be everywhere. And so I'd have to rake it up and put it into bags.
You'd have to rake the excess and make another bag.
So that's not the one I'm going to talk about. I'm also not going to talk about the job where at the pop can factory, I was crawling through the rafters with a long plastic hook, grabbing pop cans and throwing them down like 300 feet while they were like hot and like making me sweat.
And you're afraid of heights, right?
Yeah, but it was in like these covered rafters. You almost couldn't move. I was crawling through them.
Right.
Also not going to talk about that job. Not that bad. They paid me like $20 an hour. The worst job I ever had in my life was selling door to door these fucking air purifiers.
Oh man, I did that as well. I sold the thing where they were like, oh, if you buy this thing for your furnace, it will like make your emissions or something. Is that the same thing?
No, the one I had was like a stand. It looked like a speaker from like an old old stereo system. Remember the old stereo systems where it was like 4 like silver things and like a big speaker. So it's like it looked like one of those, except air would go through it and like filter the air in your house. And it did what it did. But the people who own the company were just buying these things super cheap and flipping them for an insane amount of money, and then hiring young people out of school who had like
marketing degrees
debt
or whatever
to like go sell these things. And one of the teachers I liked the best in college said to me, "You would be great at sales because you like to talk." And that's one of the things that people don't have who try to get into sales. So you should think about it. And so I got this offer and I said, hey, let's see. Because some people there make a lot of money. It was the worst. I was driving around going fucking to these houses, and they would send me to these places saying that they had like requested me. But then later on, I found out that they were just pulling numbers out of phone books and calling them and saying, hey, we have a gift for you. And then some people hesitantly were like, okay, I'll let you bring me a gift. If you say it all, that's all it is.
Oh, no. So they're already skeptical when you get there.
And then meanwhile,
you have no gift.
18-year-old, there was a bullshit ass
like
gift.
A keychain.
If they let you do the whole presentation, there's something.
Yes, there's a presentation, and there's a voucher where if you like crawl to a mountaintop in a potato sack, you can get 10% off Mondays between 2 and 4 p.m.
In 1971.
It was some bullshit.
Was your job an episode of Nathan for you?
Yes, basically. Anyways, it was the worst shit I ever did in my life. And I remember I started when I was in Barrie, but we were always doing like Northern Ontario. And then I moved to Toronto in that time. And then we kept going down Northern Ontario and kept coming further south. And then one day we did Toronto. So I was in my home area. And I texted my girlfriend at the time, coming home. And she's like, already? And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. And I just went home and turned my phone off and like never even like looked at it again.
To be honest, I bet you they have people doing that all the time because I had an ex who did it as well. It sounds exactly the same thing he described to me. And he only did one day. He didn't do it as long as you. But
I did like 3 or 4 weeks.
They said, come for the day and we'll show you what it's like or whatever. But they essentially like tricked him into working a full shift
like for free.
and then didn't pay. And then he was just like, he's like, I don't want to do this or whatever, but just pay me for the day. And they were like, oh, that was just us showing you what it's like.
That was a training day.
Yeah. Well, even training you should get paid for, but they were
I
just
saw
like,
jobs like that.
They were like, oh, that was just us like showing you what the job's like. That was just like an interview essentially. So he didn't even get paid for it, but it was essentially the same thing where he like left halfway through because he was just like, no.
Man, the one that I did, they say similar how they like trick people, or they would tell you that these people requested it. They would call people and tell them that like, oh, Enbridge, who's like their supplier of their furnace or whatever, has asked us to come see you about this new product. So they would lie and say like, or Toronto Hydro, whoever the fuck is that operates their furnace.
But some kind of like authority, some third-party authority.
That makes it seem like it's
so
unsafe if they don't let us in the door.
Sure. Wow.
And after I lasted for a day, and then the second day I went in, and I was just trying, like the guy trained was trying to make conversation. I was like an 18-year-old kid, and I was like, hey, so like that chick at the last house was like pretty hot or something, And he just lost it on me like fucking Rob Riggle from what's the movie I'm thinking of? Step Brothers. You know Rob Riggle, the Intense?
Yeah, of course.
He just got on me like all sales guru, like, if your mind's not in the fucking game trying to sell, like you don't belong here. And like, so he fired me, dropped me off at a bus station like an hour and a half from my house in Ottawa.
He fired you.
Yeah, he fired me. He's like, I don't think you're ready for this position. It takes like, you want to succeed. And like, it was fucking insane.
My other story is just a quick one about a shitty job, and that's talking about working at a good job but with shitty people. That's what this one was. And I won't say, there's still some people who might listen to this who know me from that time. So I won't say what the job was.
Sure.
It was a job I had years ago.
You're such a gentleman, Jeff.
And I threw an event, and I put like my heart and soul into it. I got all the guests that came were because I emailed them and said, you got to come to this event. I organized all the vendors, all the gifts, all the gift bags, all the like chair rentals, all this stuff for this like big event. It was like a fashion show thing. And I had a superior, like a boss above me, and I interviewed for a newspaper about the event. And she thought that because she was the boss, that should be her article.
Oh, God.
So without me knowing, she went and told the newspaper lady, all the quotes that she gave you, that's fine. You can say the same thing, but just put my name instead of hers. So
Just
literally,
change the name.
it was the words that I said from my mouth, but then it said it was from somebody else. So I quit that job like the next week.
As you do.
Yeah. I was just
That's
like, hey,
horrendous.
I can organize events for a lot of businesses, so no thank you.
It's so funny. It's like I'm in this place where people know me for being self-employed, and like I talk about being self-employed. It's a subject we've talked about on this podcast lots. I passed my 5-year anniversary during the last episode, for example, and so it's just been like a subject. But at one point, that was not me. At one point, my parents told me if I didn't get a job, they'd kick me out, and so I went.
Oh, yeah.
I went and hesitantly got a job, and I was at fucking Old Navy. And then like there were years where I just did like bullshit. I worked at a pop can factory for 12 hours a day working nights. I worked on a palletizer. And what the palletizer is, peep game. So for people who drink pop, you don't realize that you're sucking the soul out of people's lives. So what the palletizer is all these pop cans are coming down the like assembly line, just like you could picture in those like Saturday morning like montages. And then they're like
funny songs.
Yeah, they're getting printed. Exactly. And then they get condensed, and then they come down the lane, and eventually they come to my area, the palletizer. And I'm
Sounds like
working.
the shittiest superhero ever.
Yeah, it is. Trust me, it is. He cries at night. Actually, he cries
Alone,
he cries
in front of anybody.
He cries in the daytime because he works nights, and he's basically forced to be a vampire. So the palletizer, the way it works is once they come down to this section, and I have a table in front of me for the video and for the audio. I guess you fucked. So it comes down in front of you, and as long as all the pop cans are standing up like this, all good. We straight. It fills up, and then I push the fucking green button,
And then wraps
and
them
then
all up in
a robot hand goes and grabs a fucking piece of paper or some shit. Oh no, a skid with a piece of paper on it, and then drops it on top of the cans, and then more come on top of it. But once in a while, one of them
There's a fuck up.
one's tipped over.
Yeah.
Or there's like a knife sticking out of it because of like the machine like cut it, and it's like gonna kill somebody.
A knife sticking
No,
out
but like
of it.
like they'll be like it'll be broken, and there's like some aluminum like it's like
Like a
oh that
sharp
would
piece of aluminum,
that's a lawsuit, and so I got to do this is what I have to
Quality
do.
control.
I would have to karate chop forward, and because there's a laser beam, and it would stop the machine in the whole line, and everybody would know that Anthony and the palletizer.
That seems like kind of fun for like 20 minutes. You know what I
it
mean?
was
Like,
great if you're on a school field trip.
yeah.
Anybody want to try the karate chop? No, it's fine. 12 hours a night, and what happens is somewhere in there you lose yourself, and it's just like these things going by constantly. So I would just look for things to do for 12-hour shifts at night. I would just look for things to fucking do. And so I remember the lady who worked the day shift used to keep a romance novel like taped under the chair as like a fucking like
Thing to do.
but no, and like I guess she was like a ninja with it, like try to read like and so I started reading this fucking romance novel.
That's amazing.
And I remember the plot to this day. There was like a man who lived in a cave, and he was a big man with like pecs and stuff. And then this girl like fell off. She fell off her horse
Of course. That's always what happens.
in the wintertime. That's why people don't ride horses anymore, actually.
Women just falling off every day.
There's a problem. There's not enough men in caves to get them on. And then so he went and got her and brought her to the cave, and of course nursed her to health. It always takes so long in books. Like he just took all winter to nurse her back to health.
Of course. This throbbing.
To be honest, that's a little bit suspect. Not in retrospect, that's a little bit
he
suspect.
sounds like a predator.
But I think they made love at one point, and anyways, I can't remember how it happens at the end. But my dad worked at this factory. That's how I got this amazing factory job. I pulled strings to get this job. This wasn't like a bottom of my list job.
Were your parents like, Anthony, this is a great opportunity?
I pulled strings to get this job, bro.
This is a huge opportunity for you.
Oh, yeah. They said, don't fuck this up. I had to do an IQ test to get this job for real. I'm not even joking with you.
Man, I remember sitting at dinner tables with my mom, going through classifieds of like the Ottawa Citizen, looking at the shittiest jobs because she was like, yo, if you don't fucking get a job, you're not living here. I'm like, Mom, I'm in grade 11.
Mom, I'm like 10 years old.
Chill out.
Can I have a sandwich?
I have 2 jobs. But similar thing. I worked at the Canada Post for like 2 weeks.
That's a great job, though.
No, but this was
It's hard to get into Canada Post.
No, this wasn't.
Oh, that's so depressing to even think that, though.
This was like
it's not.
this was like the like they hire people
For me, it
for like
is.
3-month contracts to. So what I was doing was this should have been my fucking worst job. You reminded me. It was all night shift, so it was from
This is a redo.
7 till 7 or 11 till 11. 7 till 7, I think, that night. I'm talking like pure night shift. Like you said, you fucking lose yourself in those nights. And like, so what I was doing was packing, like, you know, when you go to the fucking post office and they got, silver dollars for the fucking centennial. And like,
Who buys that
fucking
shit?
pin.
Yeah,
So what I was
people do.
doing was filling envelopes with all that shit to send them out to the post offices. It was the fucking worst, man. The only thing I looked forward to was going out on my break and smoking a giant joint with the guy who I worked with, who was like the 7-year-old Jamaican guy. And like, it was, I lasted 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't know how night shift people can do it. You turn into like a robot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I could. I've done like a couple night shift days. Like, no way I could ever do that as like a permanent thing.
My
I feel
dad
like
my
night
dad
shift
did it
people
for
are a
years,
certain
yeah.
type of person, and they turn into like a different type of person.
Listen, the one thing I always try to keep in mind is we live in a bubble, an artist bubble, where it's like when you're an artist, it's hard to envision doing something that you don't enjoy doing all day.
that's true.
But for some people who don't have that artist, I don't want to say gene, or that's just not the thing that they focus on about themselves.
It's easy for them to just fucking do
No,
it.
it's about going, well, how much time do I have to give? How much money do I get back for that time?
Yeah,
Especially if you've got kids or whatever,
Some people,
right?
it's really important to them to be able to turn off their brain while they do a task.
Yeah, that's right.
We never turn off our brain while we do a task.
No,
we're
that's right.
we're always on, and that can be stressful. It can take a toll on you as
Not
well.
everybody's the
So
same,
I
right?
see the appeal to both things. You know what I mean?
And certainly
Like,
that's not for me. And sometimes I will say elitist things like, oh, gross, I couldn't do that. And even from the beginning, I remember you worked in retail, and I remember saying, oh, I couldn't do that. And Jess later was like, that's really rude to say. And I was like, I didn't mean it rude. I don't think it's low. I'm just like, I'm not good at standing in a place. I can't do that thing. I spend all day at a computer. I don't think making lyric videos is
Glamorous.
is glamorous and is like this like A-list celebrity life.
Bourgeoisie and the proletariat.
No, I work on a computer. If you work the till at a fucking Best Buy, you work at a computer. It's like I don't think of it like that. I just could not stand in that place for 8 hours and punch in, punch out.
Yeah.
I go crazy when someone goes, okay, you have to stay here. Even as a rapper, when it's like before a show and you're there for 4 hours, I'm like, you want me to stay here?
just like stand here.
No, can I go do
Just
something?
don't do anything.
And
Just
often I'm
go
like,
sit and
I
eat
might just go to a movie or some shit. I'll see you at 8. Anyways, that's it never comes from a place of elitism. It's just about like, some people get it. Like you said, they can turn their brain off. It's about doing a thing. They like people, and so they're just dealing with new people all day, and that makes them happy. You know what I mean? Or they love cars, so being a mechanic at Walmart is fun. Just punch in, punch out, no worries. I got benefits. I just play with cars all day. 2 thumbs up for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's cool.
exactly. And like I said, if you have a job where you work with like people you like it could end up
makes a
being the
total
most
difference.
awesome thing.
You make good money and you're surrounded
Yeah.
by like if it was us 3 and we were in some small town and it's like, hey, you gotta work at like the 7-Eleven.
run- yeah.
I could never work the 7-Eleven, but if you guys were the co-workers at the 7-Eleven, now I consider it.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
You know what I mean?
You just shoot the shit all day, give some taquitos to some people, you know.
Eat some taquitos.
Cream cheese taquitos, by the way, jalapeno cream cheese taquitos at 7-Eleven are the shit.
What about those little meatballs on the giant toothpick?
I don't
love
I don't fuck with like fast food meatballs.
I don't eat 7-Eleven
Oh
meals.
god, man, those meatballs though. I'm the same way. I was always like, oh fuck 7-Eleven meals, coming from a place of snobbery like you guys. But now I fuck with the meatballs heavy. I'm telling you, go try them out. Also, this 20 minutes of Tynan talking has been brought to you by 7-Eleven.
How many gift cards you get for that?
One.
One gift card. $10.
I already spent it.
On meatballs.
I actually owe them like $60.
You know what my best bad job was? And I'm curious if you guys have one that you liked too. My best bad job was Little Caesars Pizza. I worked there. My dad took me in at 14 years old, because in Canada you can work at 14 under your parents' SIN number.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is a funny thing for me as a 35-year-old man to say, but I'm like, at 14 I found out I could go to work early.
Yeah.
Child slavery is legal as long as your parent will sign you
As long
up.
as your parents okay with it.
Yeah. And so he took me into Little Caesars Pizza. My dad had been laid off the previous summer, so he delivered pizza for a few weeks. And so he knew the manager, got me my job at Little Caesars, and I started off as a fucking dishwasher.
Nice.
And I worked myself up from dishwasher at 14 I moved out on my own at 16. And by 17, I was the assistant manager of that Little Caesars Pizza.
There you go.
Bayfield at Street in Barrie.
Moving on up.
Man, and we had times, late night, listening to music, smoking weed out back of the Little Caesars Pizza, making free food. I would go to house parties and bring like all the leftover pizzas from like the slice pies that nobody came in and got or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember for a little while, I even sold weed out of the Little Caesars in crazy sauce cups.
Oh, nice.
You
I
know
love
what
how you've specifically said Little Caesars so many times. It sounds like they like sponsored him.
And Little Caesars, great pizza.
Listen.
Awesome staff.
Great weed.
Little Caesars.
Little Caesars, great customer service, great weed.
Okay pizza.
I actually have an amazing.
Truth.com.
I like the pizza there.
Crazy Bread saves them.
Oh,
Yes.
Crazy Bread is, man, if I could only have Crazy Bread for the rest of my life,
I want some crazy bread right now.
That would have to be some kind of like virtual world where that wouldn't somehow like also poison you.
poison you to death.
But yeah, I hear you. Taste wise, I hear you.
I have a crazy 7-Eleven story. Speaking of 7-Eleven, so this one
love
time
7-Eleven.
I went into the one. I'm gonna put them on blast and say which one it was. It was the one at Spadina in college, I think it is. You know that one?
Shots fired
what I'm
from
talking
Jess
about?
Robert.
Yeah.
That 7-Eleven there.
That one's
The Spadina in college.
Oh, listen, I shouldn't have made the shots fired sound because that place has been shot up several times.
Oh no.
too soon.
Oh, seriously, how many
So
times
the
on the
story's-
streetcar I went by and there's like the
story's
windows
not
are shot
about
at? Okay.
So I went in and I got a jalapeno cream cheese taquito, and
As you do.
And he gave it to me, and I bit into it as I was walking out the door. And there was a huge lineup to pay too, and I had just waited in it. So I bit into it, and it was like frozen.
cold?
Essentially, it was like ice cold.
Ice cold.
So I'm like, ugh. So I like went in front of all the people who were like waiting in line for so long, and I'm just like, sorry to be a jerk. And I was like drunk, of course, and so was everybody else in line. I'm like, but this is completely cold. I'm like, I don't like, just give me another one, I guess. I don't know, whatever. And then the guy looked at it. And then he put it back on the grill. And I was like, oh, you must not understand, sir. I'm like, I took a bite out of it
It's cold.
and I bit it. You can't just give it to another customer or whatever. And he was just like, as in like, no, it's fine. And he gave me like another one and left the one that I took a bite out of.
Some say it's still there right now, rolling on the grill.
It's funny. The guy behind me who was super drunk actually had like a good joke. He was just like, I'll take that one. He was like being super creepy about it. It was awesome.
Who is this guy? Where does he fucking live?
Was that you being
We're
Anthony?
gonna get
really
you,
jealous?
Andrew. I know you're out there.
Cookies makes an appearance.
It's Andrew guaranteed, or maybe Tanner.
I know so many shitty Andrews. It's such
That's
a
what I'm
thing.
saying.
Wow, there's got to be some good Andrews
I
too.
know some really nice Andrews.
If you're a
just in
good
case I
Andrew,
do listen.
email us at damagegoodspod@gmail.com.
Andy Hawk is the A&R who signed me to Fontana North. He's probably an Andrew in full.
Maybe he's
That's
just
true.
an Andy.
You know?
Maybe just a fun Andy.
Yeah, he's so an Andy, though. He's an Andy.
He's more Andy than Andrew, but I bet his birth certificate says Andrew. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't like him. It's probably him who was creeping on Jess that night.
Wow.
I should have said
Andy's the best.
that. I should have said that. Sorry.
Can you guys edit that out?
Edit that out.
We told you no editing. It takes too much time to put an episode out, even without editing.
Damn it.
Would you like to go, or do you
Yeah,
like me
no,
to
I've-
start a new segment that I thought of?
Oh, there was something I wanted to add. What were we talking about?
7-Eleven, shitty jobs.
Oh no, the good shitty job.
Yes.
Good shitty job. So
Do it. Do it.
I wanted to say I worked at Beaver Tails one winter.
Is that like those like sugar covered
Yeah,
things?
the sugar.
Oh my
on,
gosh.
On the canal in Ottawa with my buddies. We were all like 15, and the guy. I don't even know how we ended up all there, but
Most Canadian job ever.
it got to the point where there was like 7 employees, and they were just like we just took over the whole restaurant, or the whole place. There was nobody, so it was just like 7 of my closest friends, And it felt like it was like a movie about like coming of age in high school.
Yeah, totally. That's kind of how I felt at Malabar. Like my last job at the costume store was very much so like that. It's like we were all just really tight. There was nobody there who like didn't belong there. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, we could definitely like make a little like sitcom about it. I still might someday.
Make a sitcom
Some
about a
say
costume
the
store.
Taquito is still there. that was your funniest joke I've heard you say in a while.
Listen,
Some say it's still spinning.
the first thing you have to do is build the platform, and then you can get on the platform and tell the jokes. If you build it, they will laugh.
I'm gonna bring that back up at least a couple more
Yeah,
times.
make me a T-shirt that says it.
Some say it's
And just
still
like
spinning.
a little picture of a taquito.
Just spinning forever.
Clear bite out of it.
And the whole world's. Have you ever seen the movie The Time Machine, where like the world changes over like thousands of years? But it's that. But
Just
the
that
taquito
thing.
just keeps fucking spinning.
It would be that song from Donnie Darko, like the dun 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 piano one.
All around me. Or that Enya song. Who can say where the road?
Okay, listen.
Slow taquito spin.
You can't bring up that Enya song without getting a
It's called
great.
Only Time. It's perfect.
Jess, can you please tell the greatest Enya story of all time?
Oh my gosh, yes.
This is my favorite. Listen, you cannot tell me Enya's name without just telling you the following story.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were in Red Deer and a show fell through. So we were supposed to play a show at an actual normal venue. And it fell through, but the promoter was just like, "Oh, I know this park where we can go and perform on the stage, like like a public park that would have like
And
a
most
stage."
importantly,
Make a thing out of it.
and I'll meet you there and I'll pay you.
Yeah, and I'll meet you there and I'll pay you. So we're like, oh, that sounds kind of sketch. And if it's not official, like who knows? So we get there, and it's like pitch black. Like there's no like park lights on. It's just like we're like pretty much like sneaking into the park essentially. And we check the hydro, like we put the plug all the equipment in, and it works.
all works.
Everything's working. So we're just like, okay, I guess we're doing a show.
we're just gonna do
And
a
then
show.
a lot of people show up.
Yeah, it turned
gets
out to be
like
pretty lit.
crazy. It gets pretty lit. So then
Did
at
Enya
one
show? Is that where this is? No. Enya there? Okay, fuck.
So at one point, inevitably, the police also show up because we're throwing a illegal show in
Illegal
a
party in
park
a
without
public park.
permission.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like residential areas all surrounding the area. It's like echoing out into the city. So the police show up and the DJ just puts on Enya really quick. Like it was just like a chill,
Like lightning fast.
Yeah.
Like as they're walking up, it just you hear like who can play when the wind blows? Where the
What a legend
winds
that guy is.
and
Did
we,
it trick the cops? Like, oh, just a bunch of parents. here.
yes.
Listen,
Yes.
Tynan, can you tell me what in 9 times out of 10, please tell the listeners who maybe aren't tour jaded, what's supposed to happen if the cops show up in this case?
Everybody gets arrested and nobody gets any money.
Okay, just tell Tynan what actually happened.
So the police basically said, "Oh, you guys having a show here?" And the guys were like, "Yeah, we're just we're just playing some music and
chilling out, you know,
just
listening to some
chilling out."
Enya.
Yeah. And the police were like, "Okay, you guys keep it safe and have a good night." And they left.
They left.
And we continued having a rap show until 2 a.m. at this park. Yeah.
Insane.
crazy.
Enya with the win every time.
And here's the funny thing: I got paid, and then right before I went on stage, the promoter and some drunk dude started fighting
yeah.
on stage, like seriously fighting, and so everyone just like
And
ran.
everyone ran.
So
You actually have to play and you got paid.
and we just left. But it was a really fun night, and it was just such a funny. The Enya moment was funny, and but in the moment, I didn't even think I noticed the Enya. I think after you were like, they just fucking put on Enya.
I have this all on video, by the way.
This video's up on YouTube. If you're listening, you can actually watch this on one
Yeah.
of our tour love episodes. But what I was just like, oh, this is over. As soon as I saw the cops come, I'm like, just
Oh, great.
grab the bag. This is
get the fuck outta
definitely
here.
over.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard him, he's like, have a good night, guys. Keep it safe.
You guys just have a good time.
Play within the lines.
I love Enya.
It's like,
Man,
is this the remix?
me and Johnny were on. No, was it me and Johnny? Oh, I think it was when I went on tour with like the 40-ounce Heroes guys, Black Bolt and Chain.
Love those guys. Yeah, those are
I
great.
think it was them. We were driving through. Oh no, it was when we were with Bronze Nazareth. Remember that? We were on that tour with Bronze Nazareth and June Mega.
You know what's funny? I bumped into Bronze Nazareth in Indianapolis, Indiana, because I played a show there on my last tour, and he was in Indianapolis.
Cool.
And then he came through and rocked like a guest set. And
Sweet.
he was very cool.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. So we were on tour driving from Thunder Bay to Winnipeg. And it was like fucking no one had their license except me. So it's me,
Okay.
Johnny, Max. Remember Max, our old manager?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and Bronze Nazareth, June Mega, and this guy Shane Stone, who's like this young guy we took on tour.
Okay.
From Ottawa. Actually, he was a really talented kid. He just like stopped rapping for no reason. But so there's 7 or 6 of us in this van, and I'm the only one who can drive. It's like 3 a.m. We played the show in Thunder Bay, and it was cool, like it was fun, but the promoter just like he's like promised us $350 and only gave us like 200 or something. And so we were just like, fuck it, let's just drive straight to Winnipeg. We have a free place to stay, blah blah blah. And so I'm flying down. You know those like as soon as you cross the border into Manitoba, that's when the crazy like prairie highways start. And there's
I got a big ticket out there.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
you're just driving. Like I was literally probably going like 180. You know, just like I don't give a fuck. We're in the middle of nowhere, just flying, and like literally like some Super Trooper shit. Like hadn't seen a car in an hour, and all of a sudden just cherries behind me, like right in my rearview mirror. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did these guys come from? Pull us over. Sorry, I'm having a puff. Pull us over. Guy comes to the window and like imagine it's like 6 like unruly dudes been on tour for like a week. We all stink. The van, we've been essentially living in this van for a week. Everyone looks sketchy. Cops again, it's like 3 a.m. Like rolls, it comes to both sides. So it's me here and June Mega. Did you ever meet him, June Mega?
That name doesn't even ring a bell.
Just this huge dude, like giant beard, but like he has one of those like Mike Tyson voices, you know, like
But he's a fat guy with a beard wrapper.
yeah,
That's a category. I hear him.
yeah, but like yeah. Looks really scary, but not scary at all.
Then let me make it clear. I don't mean that in a bad way.
and me in the driver's seat, and the cop stops us and he's like, "So, you're going pretty fast, eh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we just like we're on tour. We just left the show. We're going to the next show." And he's like, "You guys are on tour?" I'm like, yeah, we're on tour. Like, he's like, "Whoa, so you guys have like CDs and stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, we got CDs. We're on tour on our way." And so it turns into this thing where we all get out of the van. We're taking pictures with these 2 guys,
That's
giving them
funny.
CDs, no ticket,
Wow.
stoned off my ass, going like almost 200 kilometers an hour. It was psychotic.
That's
and then
a
on the
great
way
story.
back, me and Johnny had to be back for North by Northeast, and we got pulled over again in the same area. We're just like, please let it be the same guys. It wasn't the same guys. And I got like a $260 ticket or something.
Yeah, Anthony got a $400 ticket
Yeah,
when we
they
were
don't fuck
there.
around out there. It's no game.
Yeah, I got murked out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucked.
Man, Johnny got pulled over in Quebec for not having his license. Like his license expired and he just didn't get it renewed for like 2 years. And he got pulled over in Quebec with his expired license. And then they gave him a fucking retarded ticket. And then we just didn't go back to Quebec for like 3 years. He didn't want
And just
to
like,
pay it.
you're just good.
Yeah. Because he was like, he had like a warrant out for his arrest and shit. It was like a huge deal. But I think I think he's settled it now. I don't know. I shouldn't be fucking putting him on blast right now either.
No, it's okay.
I don't know who I'm talking about. It could be Johnny anybody. It's my friend John Wilkinson, unrelated to rap.
So my segment.
Oh yeah, what's this about? What's this about?
So the segment is called People Who Catch the Unfollow.
Oh,
And I'm going to give you guys some scenarios, and you tell me whether you would unfollow this person on social media or whether you would just let it slide and just scroll past. Okay?
I warn you, I've got a
I'm pretty ruthless these days.
I got a pretty close to
me
blanket.
too.
Yes,
Me
but
too.
okay.
I have a feeling all 3 of us are pretty ruthless.
Let's do it. Let's do it, baby.
So
Let's do it.
We'll start it with something light, something not too offensive.
Okay.
Posting constant photos of children with food on their face.
No, I won't follow that.
Is it their children?
Yeah, it's their children. and let's be
That's
clear.
what it's called.
None of these are like your family members or your like best friends or anything. These are just like
Okay.
acquaintances who you're not super attached to.
I don't follow that. If I don't like them, then that might be enough to be like, okay, I don't like this person,
Yeah, I don't need to see this.
and I don't need to see this, so maybe I might unfollow them.
Yeah.
But that alone won't get me. That won't catch an unfollow. No.
Yeah. Okay.
How about for you?
For me, it really depends on how well I know the person. I wouldn't delete them for it, like a Facebook thing. I wouldn't delete them from
You
my
just feel
friends
like,
list.
I don't need to see
But I might unfollow as in like I don't need this in my like news feed, you know?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends on the person. Because if some people I love seeing their kids, but
I just hate the people that are like, it's like every week, like, my kid is so sick with this. I don't know. It's like, just to go to the fucking doctor. Why are you talking? Like, what do I do? My son has a runny nose, and it's like, I don't know. Go get some cold medicine. Like, why?
Get off of Facebook.
Yeah, why are you asking for medical advice on your Facebook account?
I'm not mad at people who crowdsource stuff because, for example, I do
Some things that's really good, man. That's how you find lots of good stuff.
I would never do that, but I do some like Facebooky crowdsourcing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if I want to do
It's a more
this,
like genuine way to find out like a review of something.
To be honest, I'm a little bit jaded with doctors lately. So I kind of find that, for example, I had a really bad skin thing when we got back from California. Basically, my entire face was like scaly.
Yeah.
Like it went like eczema or like something. I don't know, psoriasis. I don't know what it was. But I posted it on Facebook because I knew that if I went to the doctor, it would also be trial and error.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
That could be a million things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm just
we're
like...
gonna try this antibiotic and we'll try this cream. It's
Exactly,
like, no, that didn't work.
yeah.
Okay, we'll try this one.
So yeah, definitely they could have given me like a medicated cream that probably would have fixed it. But I'm just like, what do you guys have gone through, and what have you tried, and what worked? And a few people recommended a couple good things, and they worked. And my skin is actually better. It's like
you look great, babe.
It's like new skin was like born underneath the scales. It was like really weird.
like a snake, shedding
Yeah.
its skin, a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Totally.
wow.
All right, next one.
Okay, let's do it.
People who post fight videos.
Well, yeah, and so
I don't-
fight
I can't
videos,
even-
and
are you even allowed to post those on Facebook?
yeah, and the other thing that you'll
Yeah.
get sometimes is you'll get one where it's blocked because it says like violent content. I unfollow those people because especially in hip hop, there's a lot of that, and whatever. That's cool that some people think that's fun. When I was a kid, people liked bum fights.
Yeah.
I did not like
It's
bum
so
fights.
gross.
And so I personally I do unfollow people who post those types of like violence
Yeah.
or like someone's like this guy gets hit by a train and it's like violent
man,
content.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, what
Why
graphic?
would I want
Why
to?
do I want to see that?
Yeah.
No, bruh.
It just
Like, yo, hey, check out this video. Guy gets like, it's a guy on a motorcycle getting creamed by a train. It's like, what?
That's
What?
a
I do
delete
not
for
wanna
me.
see that.
That's not an unfollow. That's
Why
a
do you
delete for
wanna
me.
see that?
Depends who it is.
Depends who it is, but we're just assuming that this is just like an acquaintance that I
Sure.
don't really know
If it's-
that
if
well.
someone I
It's
don't
a
know well,
delete.
yeah, I'll delete them. Sure.
Or like what's that fucking website? World Star. It was always like, World Star. It's like, why do I need to see like two 14-year-old kids beating the shit out of each other?
Yeah.
It is lowbrow entertainment for show.
Yeah, but I like lowbrow shit. I'd rather watch somebody sitting in front of a camera farting for 5 minutes than like watching two like
Cake farts.
yeah somebody like yeah. It just seems so tacky to me. It's not
I
even that I'm
agree.
offended by the violence. It's just that, like, and you know me, I'm a fucking tacky guy. But to me, that's like
You're the tackiest. You have Angelina Jolie tattooed on your chest.
this is what I'm saying. Like, nobody's father wants me to date their daughter, but I draw the line at watching two girls fight over a cell phone.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jess, what's number 3?
Posting PETA videos. So similar graphic content.
Just
Listen.
so we're clear, are you talking about like a
Is this
like,
Peter Pan or Peter Parker?
or like a maybe like a Greek pedo with
No, I'm talking the activist group, and the videos are usually graphic videos of animals being tortured.
Oh no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't,
no,
pay,
no,
I don't know,
if-
but I don't know if it's a delete for me.
Yeah,
I will definitely
exactly.
not. I will not engage in that.
If it's animals being tortured, no go. I even saw today I saw somebody share one of these videos. It's a man punching his dog, and then like the caption is like, "Whoever this guy is, I'd fuck him up." And it's like me,
But so
me
the
too.
message is positive. The message is positive.
but I don't really want to watch it.
Absolutely.
That's such a good thing to talk about because me and Maya were just talking about this. How it's like people post something that it's like you agree, like their heart's in the right place, but like the thing that they're posting or what they're saying is just so like I don't know. It's
Brother, this is as simple as it is. Okay, they took all of the power of like CNN in the '90s, and they put
Gave
it
it to everyone.
and they gave it to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good thing, but it takes a little getting used to that somebody who barely understands what they're talking about can create
Scream
an
it in your
entire
face.
internet TV show about the thing they don't know what they're talking about. And so, unfortunately, we're programmed. I sound like Joe Rogan right now. We're programmed to believe that someone who is loud knows the truth. But in actuality, it's just being loud on the internet means you have nothing better to do. And Jess and I talk about this. People who have nothing better to do are going to be on the internet all day. Doctors have a lot to do. Lawyers,
They're
I watch
pretty
The Good
busy
Wife.
saving
I'm an
lives.
avid watcher of The Good Wife, and she is busy. She has no time to be on the internet all day.
She's not-
You're so into that show right now.
Nurse Jackie, also busy. There are many TV characters who are intelligent who don't have time to be on the internet all day.
Nurse Jackie is not posting about like a bad McDonald's experience on Facebook.
No, and so what ends up happening is you have all these unemployed, and hey, granted, some of them are also really smart. I'm not fucking saying it's only dumb people, but you have a lot of unsuccessful or people who are like not yet living their best selves, whatever's the nicest way to say it, who have a lot of time to be on their iPhone saying
mad
things.
about shit.
No, it's true.
Or
You know?
people who are angry at
And that's a point that everybody can agree on, including those people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That like, there's a lot of people out there with like, you know.
You know what? Not to say, I don't mean to say dumb, because there's all different levels of intelligence, and you are what you're born with, and I'm not trying to be like what's like smartest. I'm not trying to be a smartest. You know what I mean? But uninformed opinions, where they put so much energy into the opinion, but not into informing the opinion.
That's actually one of my next ones.
Okay, so do it.
It gets to the point. I just want to add.
Oh, Tynan put up a 1. Jess, fucking relax.
just
Sit back. Let me move this mic right quick. Tynan put up a 1.
This,
Okay.
It's
Sorry, Tynan. Get
a
that.
frustrating thing for me. But exactly what you're talking about, when it's it ends up turning me off of caring about shit.
You're
You know
right.
what I mean? Like it's like I consider myself way more like politically engaged. Maybe I'm more aware now of what's going on, but I was more engaged like 4 years ago. Before it's just every fucking person with a mouth telling me how to think about the stupidest things.
Jess has been saying this to me a lot lately, that it's hard, that she's concerned about, and feel free to speak, but I'm going to say as I remember what you said, that you're concerned about having an opinion, even if it's pro the right things. Because once you put yourself in the game as being pro things, if you make any mistake,
Oh yeah,
you immediately can be beheaded.
yeah.
You know?
There's no room for like.
If you stay out of it, then whatever, they might not notice you. But the minute you try, to be like, hey, let's make the world a better place, and then you make a bad joke. And granted, I'm not defending every bad joke that's been
You're
made.
opening yourself up for scrutiny.
Oh, big time.
If you try to act like you're
Anyway,
this good person, and then
there's no room for you. Like I've always said, I consider myself. I'm not conservative. I'm not liberal. I don't know what the fuck I am. I agree with certain things, and it's like, why do we have to pick sides now? If you say you say one thing, then you're this left wing, this liberal, whatever, blah blah blah. But then you think this. It's.
I think it's going to relax a little bit.
I think it should, man.
My general opinion is that a lot of what we're experiencing right now with the politics is a side effect of the internet. Because what happened is, there used to be these air bubbles in politics where like, well, we won't talk about it, or I don't have to know why homophobic people would vote against gay marriage. I don't have to know that. But once you were all in the same room, now we have to iron this out. Like, no room for error now.
Yeah.
People don't want anybody in the room that hates them. They don't want.
So the internet is the room.
The internet is the room.
Right.
Because once upon a time, no one is just calling up random people from other parts of society. But now with Twitter or the internet, you might be talking on a thread about your favorite movie or your favorite podcast,
People from literally
and then there's a homophobic person on there or a racist person on there, and so boom, now we are batting heads, and that's why the social justice warriors are so up in arms, because they're like, hey, now that we're going to share this room, and the internet's not going anywhere. In fact, the room's going to get more real. We're going to get more of their ideas. They're going to be louder. There's going to be holograms and VR. I'm going to get more of that shit.
Yeah.
So I'm pro ironing it out of society. We're in a cleansing period right now. I call the Me Too movement a cleansing period, because I think men who...
Well, the Me Too movement's just part of it.
No, but I mean, when there was this moment where we're hearing about all these great men who turn out to not be great men. I'm saying the reason there's so many of them is because those men were unaware this time was coming.
Yeah.
And so now kids who grew up in this era are less likely to become a monster,
exactly.
because they grew up in an era where monsters were like rinsed in front of their eyes and like stoned by society.
Unfortunately, this is a period of time that has to happen in order for it to balance out and become like
exactly.
normal.
So I think then immediately it's going to level out a little bit.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
all the scrutiny on police, it doesn't seem like it's going to make it better. And to be honest, one of the things that makes me crazy is that it doesn't fucking seem like it's getting better.
Well, because all the people who are doing it are too set up in their ways. You're
But
changing those people.
I think math is undeniable. It has to get better. The fact that
but
the
it's gonna
whole
get better
world
in,
is
like,
talking
30
about
years.
it, and that there's like cameras on them constantly, it has to. I can't think about mathematically, like intellectually, any way that it wouldn't get better. The same way that racism is getting better and sexism is getting better, because knowledge is power, and the more you know, the first time you have a woman boss and you realize that's the smartest person you've ever met, sexism question is dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The first time your favorite person is gay, the gay question is dead. And so it's just exposure and knowledge is everything. You know what I mean? And I think that's the direction we're moving in.
So the internet was like a shock, but then the internet is ultimately going to be what saves us. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I think because what happens is all those homophobic people suddenly had to see gay videos and they're not happy about it. But what happens is the gay videos ultimately make them less homophobic.
Yeah, exactly.
And then over time,
or their children less homophobic.
I'm over time. I'm not saying that those people
racist
specifically.
people in the world are the people who have never seen a person of a different skin color.
Man, when I was a kid, I've never been racist. In fact, because as a kid, I was often called the N-word and other things because the white people in my town didn't understand what I was. They looked at me and they're like, "You're clearly not me, but I don't know what it is. So I'm going to call you whatever words I know."
Yeah, this is the only bad one I know. So that's what you
and so I was never racist, but I did live in a white town where, I knew one black family. They were Dwayne, the kid was my buddy. I knew one Asian family. And so I did feel removed from, like, I knew some people from those cultures, but not enough to like have any real sense of what they were like. And I know that everyone's the same, but you know what I mean? Just getting to know people from other cultures. I didn't know any Hispanic people. I didn't know any Indian people. And so I felt super white as a kid. I'm half white, half Sicilian. I felt very white. But then when I moved to Toronto, suddenly it was just like, oh, I went out with a girl who was Hungarian. I went out with a girl who was Armenian. And it's just like, there was 1,000 flavors of people. And you know that abstractly, but then once you're like being intimate with those people and you're best friends with those people and your boss is Egyptian and you're like in the mix of it. And I felt myself go from not racist, but still very narrow-minded in terms of like my ethnocentrism, just in terms of thinking like white North American is best, even though everyone's great. We haven't figured out best. You know what I mean? And then I moved to Toronto. It's like, oh my God, everyone has a different flavor of best. You know what I mean?
One thing we were talking about recently. So Maya, your wife, is half
is so weird.
Indian. And half, what's the other half?
Her dad's German.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I'm sure I've told you guys this before because I'm sure as soon as I found out she's Indian, I'm sure I told you this. But I used to do professional Bollywood dance. And we recently got into a conversation where we were like, imagine that, because I did it for 5 years. Imagine I got like really successful at it and maybe it was like the CEO of the dance company. It's just like, that suddenly wouldn't be okay now. And it's like, I remember when I did it, it used to be so much fun. And like every wedding that we performed at, they like loved us. And we were a very multicultural group too. I think there was like 3 white girls, a Filipino guy, a black girl.
All it would take is one Vice
and
article.
There was 2 Indian people.
So that says, why is this white girl the CEO of the biggest Bollywood company?
So what? In the current climate, I understand why that would be wrong. But I am looking forward to a time when maybe that wouldn't be wrong. It wouldn't matter. Yeah, exactly. Because everybody would be.
It would be wrong.
Everybody would be doing everything. You know what I mean? And I understand. So anyone who's listening to this, if you think that like, oh, she's crazy and she doesn't understand racism, I get it.
Yeah.
And I understand why I couldn't do that now. But I think that we should all strive for a future where that wouldn't be a thing. We would just all do a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You know what? And listen, you sparked me on something controversial that I have an opinion about. And I want to say it because I think that this is the right format to talk about it. Is there's an app and there's 2 rappers who've invested in it. I fucking can't remember who the rappers are, but 2 big rappers have invested in this app, so it made a bunch of headlines. I think it was Puff Daddy and maybe Jay-Z, but 2 people. And the app basically says where the local black businesses in your neighborhood are. Really dope and empowering, and I understand the positive of it. Everything you just said, I get it. I get why it helps us get from A to B and solve a problem. Black businesses deserve the same traffic white businesses have. We want to correct the problem that's been there. Understood. But I also see a slippery intellectual slope of, I would hate for the Italian community to start an app that has the same exact thing, and then the Portuguese community. That's just not the Toronto I love.
No, exactly.
Where everyone's just trying to go to where their people are. And so, although I understand why it helps, and I'm pro it existing, part of me thinks
a bad precedent.
Part of me thinks like
separation.
I look forward to a time when. I go to a business not based on the color. I go personally based on price and location every day of the week. And I think
that is a very similar example to what I just said too, because for example, like female-owned businesses are like an important thing to me right now. You know what I mean? But I do hope that there's a time when that almost wouldn't matter to me. You know what I mean? When it could be like, you know what I mean? It could be everybody.
And I get
all races. All
we're not
genders.
in that time right now, and what we're trying to do is correct a time that we were just in.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
But I am pro you know,
striving for a future when we don't
yeah,
have
when
to do
you
that,
live in a city like Toronto, it's really because that's the other thing. People listening right now, man, that's such a fucking important thing. I have to remind myself constantly is my own fucking bias because I live in Toronto. We live in one of the most multicultural cities on the planet.
Yeah.
It's one of the examples you would use for multiculturalism.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's very easy for me to be like, fucking stupid people, look around, look how easy we all mix. But if you live in Indiana or Saskatoon, you might not be seeing the same thing when you look around.
Or even someone from Toronto who's not white may have a different tune.
Oh, totally. And I know I'm coming from like cis white male, like entertainer bias as well. Like, fuck me and my entire opinion from the jump.
Talking because like Ottawa, for instance, is a very multicultural city, but it's so much younger with its like multiculturalism that the communities seem very divided.
So it's like old white people and
yeah, so it's
young,
like
new
since like the
multiculturalism?
70s now there's like a lot of Lebanese people, a lot of Somalians, a lot of Eastern Europeans.
Yeah, so as immigration grew.
Yeah, and whereas in Toronto, I feel like where we do have the like Portuguese town,
Yeah.
Koreatown, Chinatown,
And they're embraced because what's interesting about that is it's not as segregated as somebody from somewhere else might think.
Well, like in Ottawa, all those places are like you can be born in Ottawa in 1972 to a Portuguese family and still speak broken English living in Ottawa. You know what I mean? Because the communities there are still very divided. I find as in Toronto, it's everything just kind of mixes.
Something fell off my table.
Anthony is
Oh no, it's nothing important. It turns out it's just some little bullshit. I don't even know what this is.
what is that?
Oh, it comes from holding the mic in. Let's just put it back in now.
Hopefully the mic doesn't.
Yeah, no,
fall
we're
off.
good. We're good to go. Yeah. So my family, like my nonno, my like Italian like grandparents, they lived in like the Italian part of Toronto, and there was definitely like all the people on the street were Italian.
Yeah.
But that's what's beautiful is I think Toronto has that perfect balance of like neighborhoods where people do live amongst their family, and I get
Yeah.
it. With the high immigration rate to Toronto, people want to live amongst their
even if it's
cousins
like
and
your
their friends.
cousin, whatever.
Yeah, maintain the language, maintain the culture, the
Yeah.
traditions. Get it, love it. And what's cool is there's enough like vibes that people like. You want to go to an area like I love going to a black barber shop. I love going down to when I'm down on Spadina and getting that like Chinatown vibe. I love that it's
Yeah,
different. I
definitely.
love like. Oh, I lived in. Well, there was a little while I lived in Etobicoke, and I remember every time I went and applied at like a local spot, they'd be like, "Do you speak Portuguese?" I'm like, I don't speak Portuguese. It's like
look like I
I've
do.
obviously landed in an area where quite a few people are Portuguese, and so it's just like that's cool.
I think
to me.
Toronto's just more experienced at dealing with the, like, there's been throngs of immigration coming to Toronto for over 100 years, you know? So, what's up?
No. Keep going. I'm just
hear
looking.
me?
No. We're good. I'm just looking at to see how this went in.
Oh,
Oh no, I see it now.
They go on both sides so that you have one. On
Yep,
one
I see it.
side and, okay.
Keep going.
it's fucking amateur hour in here.
Were you? Can I give you guys
yeah,
another
no,
one?
I forgot
So
what I
I
was
really
talking
love how people who catch the unfollow segment
Oh, it really
sent
blossomed.
us spitting, I think, into the
Yeah.
most political talk that we've ever had on this podcast. So I really enjoyed
That
that.
really did set us off, eh?
How you
Well,
doing
it's because
there, babe?
social media has unfortunately made us more politicized, right? Because I was never political.
exactly.
Social media definitely kind of got me into that
Thinking and talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I continue?
Please do. I'm just gonna put my mic back
Okay.
together.
So, so remember, since we went off the rails a little bit there, this is people who catch the unfollow. So, would you unfollow or just scroll past this person on social media? Is the question.
What was the thing again?
So I'm giving it right now. I'm just leading up to it so that we remember what we were talking about.
Good call.
So the next one is when people make memes of themselves. So let me give an example. Like my reaction when she says her parents aren't home, and then it's like a picture of themselves
No,
going
love it.
like,
Oh, no.
No, I love it.
I hate it.
I
"Love it." It's so bad.
I hate it.
Maybe I just
I
have. Maybe I
really
just
hate
follow
when
really
people
good
do
people because
that.
I haven't. I don't have any
if
bad
it was
ones.
Somebody who was like a classically, ironically self-deprecating like person, and it did it once ever, I'd be like, "Oh, hilarious!"
Yeah.
But if it's somebody who
Like
does
on
it
the
over and over
regular,
again,
No.
like, no.
There's a person that both of us know who does it on the regular, and I'll say it when the podcast's over.
I don't know who it is.
And we're gonna go through his. Instagram.
I know a guy named Mike who does it. I met him on tour in Salt Lake City, maybe, or was it Wisconsin? But he does it, and they're not amazing.
Yeah, but
but they make me laugh anyways
there's
because
a
Mike's
threshold
cool.
that I can cross with annoyingness though, and I find everyone who does it.
And Mike's whole thing is that he used to be a big fat guy and now he's not, and so he does all like fat kids and it's like him like eating food. I'm like, I'm with it, bro. I'm with it.
Yeah.
Okay. I can get behind.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. When people post like super negative things about their exes, like
Oh no, that's
man.
an immediate delete or unfollow for sure.
Yeah.
I probably even unfriend them completely.
Yeah.
I cannot stand
Even like baby mama stuff,
that.
and honestly,
man, the baby mom stuff is the worst.
you know what? And once in a while, the person has even been wronged, and I'm like, oh, this person has been wronged. I feel pretty bad for what this person's going through.
90% of the time, though,
But-
they're telling the story about them being the asshole.
No, you're right. And
don't get
in
it,
cases where they're like, listen, I punched her in the face and now she blocked me.
Oh, man.
I don't
My
care.
baby mama caught me fucking her best friend, and she wouldn't let me see my kid. What a bitch.
But sometimes,
I've seen some that are
It's like- literally
almost
exactly
that
but
bad.
sometimes they have been wronged.
Yeah, no,
and
it's
but here's the point I'm making. I still go, oh, that's really sad.
Unfollow.
Unfollow.
Immediate unfollow.
It's really sad.
because I get it, and I don't begrudge them their struggles, but it's like,
not the energy
okay,
you
real
want.
talk.
No.
This is how this shit works. You strap it to your head and then you just put it in your brain all day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
And
your
I just can't-
newspaper,
I
right?
don't wanna put
so
you-
when you
you in my
open a
brain anymore.
newspaper, if you don't like sports, you're not going to read the sports sections. You're
Yeah,
just going to take it
exactly.
out. You know what I mean?
If there was
You're gonna take
if
it
there
out.
was a baby mama drama section of the newspaper, I would not
I'd light it up.
I would not take
Sometimes
that
I'll,
part out.
I'll say it out loud in public in front of like 10 of my friends, just because it's like because I've talked about this so many times that how annoying it is when people do that.
Yeah.
So it's become this like cliche, and people just keep doing it. It's like constant, like every day the post like, oh, got fired from my job for smoking weed. Now like now my baby mama's parents won't let me see the kids because I burned their house down. It's like
Now-
sad face. I'm like, dude.
and then the friend's like, she's a cunt.
Yeah. No,
Just-
then it's like 20 of his white trash friends being like, oh, feel for you, dog, stay strong. It's like,
Just to play the devil's advocate, on the flip
fucking
side,
worst.
the flip side of that
stay
coin
strong, fam.
is I've also seen people post memes that say your relationship is meant to be private. Do not post anything about your relationship online. Have you ever seen people post that
Yeah.
stuff where they're mad that people are like talking about their relationship online? And me and Anthony posted a lot about our relationship online.
Yeah.
And I feel
that's
like
allowed.
you
I mean, whatever.
choose to share what you want to share, right?
Yeah.
But it's more so like the super negative stuff that's like, you want to share
Yeah,
that?
and it's
Like
always
really?
so trashy. It's like
Yeah.
fucking
It ties
worst
into the
shit.
politics thing we said earlier too, and what it is it's whether it's the relationship rules, whether it's the hip hop rules, whether it's the whatever rules. It's like these people just wake up and they take their little fucking phone out and they're like, I'm putting my foot down.
Yeah, fuck the rules.
That's that.
Fuck the
We need to establish some fucking rules about what it is to be in love, or like what it is to be an American, or what it is to be Canadian, or what it is to be hip hop, or what is, you know what I mean, or what it is to be a DJ.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make this fucking video about these hot female fucking DJs that are barely fucking DJs.
Or like Instagram
They just
models.
push buttons, and I'm gonna put text at the top and at the bottom, and it says some shit like, real DJs don't just push buttons. And then people are going to agree with me and they're going to share that video. We're going to save DJing.
But you know what the sad part is?
I'm so
People
sad,
do
bro.
agree and do
No,
share it.
they
sometimes.
do agree. They do share it. But none of those people are getting ahead. I guarantee it. I would put all of the money on that.
Yeah.
That there's nobody successful or happy going, yeah, you're right. Those
Yeah.
aren't DJs.
Yeah, screw those other successful people.
I'm kind of like, yo, that party looks litty. Let's go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Are they the greatest technical DJs? No. And if someone gives them the award for best technical DJ, of course that's ridiculous, and that means that award is no longer worth anything. But none of that requires getting you angry and creating this video. And you want to take it deeper, Tynan? Yo, let me go deep with you, because these people don't just make a video; they spend like $1,000 promoting the video to make it go viral.
Yeah.
They're spending hard-earned money
And
to
just-
make a hate video about DJs they've never met.
Hours of their own
don't get it.
time, and then those people end up taking this to this. They become like the fucking loudspeaker people of this movement against untalented DJs.
Yeah.
It's like, so now this become your passion project.
Yes.
Because of some fucking, you're like starting Facebook groups and moderating fucking blogs, like
But it's all for a good cause.
all for your random hate of this. Yeah.
Me and
These
Anthony
hot female
often talk
DJs.
about like fuck gatekeepers, like people who think that there's a certain way you have to get into this industry. It's like people who hate on photographers. They're like, fuck you think you buy an expensive camera and you can be a photographer? It's
yes.
like, yes.
That's exactly what I think.
And maybe they're not as good as you or whatever your complaint is.
But maybe they can take an amazing picture that's like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, or maybe they're going to get better in a few years. But it's just like,
Especially with,
why are you wasting your energy hating our Instagram models? And people are like, you have to be with an agency to consider yourself a model.
Here's the good news, though.
You can't just model on Instagram. It's like, yes, you can.
That's literally what people do.
The good news is the people who know that these are stupid rules that someone just made up to keep their own position once upon a time.
Yeah.
You can be more successful. It's like, hey, do you want to start a fashion brand? You literally can, and you can build something.
Break all the rules.
When we started lyricvids.com, a couple of animators, good guys, people I have no grudge against, were like, you can't just do that. You can't just sell that for that amount of money and just circumvent all the training and all the things that we do.
It's like, why not?
And it's like, that's why I'm going to beat you, bro. I'm so sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
But you just explained why I'm going to buy a house and why you're going to have to find a new hustle.
You're gonna find a new job.
It's funny that
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
It's funny that we went this direction because I just saw, and hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast, but if she does, I love you and you were a great teacher.
Talk
but I
that
just
talk, babe.
saw my makeup teacher post today, and she was like, all these YouTube makeup artists, blah blah blah, and I'm just like, babe, if I could go back in time, I would learn how to do makeup, because I went to makeup school for any listeners. But if I could go back in time, I would learn to do it from YouTube.
Yeah.
Because that's saving money.
Yeah.
You can learn if you.
And it's probably a way better way to learn for a lot of people.
Yeah, if you
That
put in the
model
time,
works for more
you can
people.
really specifically look at what you want to look at. So if you want to see how to do drag
that
makeup,
talk, Jess.
you can look up drag makeup. If you want to learn zombies, you can look up zombies. There's tons of videos out there. And yeah, maybe you won't have the discipline and whatever the hours of going to school for it, but it's just like,
But you can.
there's so many different ways you can do
circumvent
it.
that if you go hard on the videos, you can. Do you know how I learned everything I know how to do? We run a content creation company. We do animation, video, photography, and Photoshop. I learned everything from YouTube tutorials. What happened was
You can fix a car on a YouTube.
A girl-
change a heart problem.
a girl broke up with me one summer. And like in a really messy, not nice way. And I moved home with my mom for like a summer, like 2 or 3 months. And I remember thinking like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to eat. I don't want to go out. I'm in that heartbreak mode. So I watch tutorials all day, every day. I went to college. I'm just like, I'm going to go to depression college. I'm going to watch videos, and I can watch green screen videos, and I watch videos where you can do the thing where you're like, there's two of you on the screen interacting, and it's like really corny.
cool.
But like, I just learned how to do all the things.
Yeah.
And then what's so crazy is like, I applied that summer of depressed knowledge forever. That's a great lesson, yo. If anyone's listening to this, if at some point in the coming like a couple of years you get dumped and you're like, I don't want to go out of the house, I don't want to do anything.
Depression college.
Learn, go to depression college. Just learn something while you don't want to do anything, and then you're just gonna wake up one day and be like, oh, I feel good again, and
do
I'm
all this stuff.
an incredible photographer. Because now that's like a great thing you can apply in your new hustle. And and what's funny is when I was single, I used the video stuff to meet girls and like to put myself on. And you said something earlier that triggered me, where it's like, oh, people say this is how you can get on and this is the not okay to get on. I have so many haters that are mad at me for getting on by being the like project manager guy. Because like I would throw shows, put myself on the show, and now I'm a national headliner. I would like throw ciphers, put myself in the cipher, and now I'm on TV. I put myself in the things, and it's like, yeah, that's you could just do whatever you
you could just
want.
do that.
Once upon a time, a hater was just like, he throws shows and puts himself on the shows. And he was like,
Yep.
yeah, I do that.
Yeah, who
I do
doesn't
that.
do that?
And everybody else should do that too. Like I read I've been looking at getting into comedy lately, and I was reading a little bit about that.
Love the
And
dance
they were
you do when
like,
you say that.
and they were like,
It was a little racy.
and they were like, one of the ways to do that is if you're a good like event coordinator, which I am, is to throw a comedy show and put yourself on it.
yourself on it,
Invite a bunch of other comedians, get a cool venue, a bar that'll let you do
exactly.
it. They'll sell lots of drinks or whatever. Throw a comedy show. All of a sudden, wow, you're a comedian.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
You're now
You know what I
you're
mean?
a
Like,
comedian.
and I'm sure there's a bunch of gatekeeper comedians out there who'd be like, "You're not a
And
real
listen,
comedian."
throwing shows is the obvious way, but one of my ways in was by shooting stuff. I remember I used to offer free music videos to anybody more famous than me that wouldn't answer my emails. You know what I mean? So I'd be like, "Hey, this is me. I'm a young up and coming dude. I shoot music videos. I'd love to work with you." And I started working with people that I was fans of their music, and like that's one of there's so many ways in. If you're a dope photographer, you're a crazy illustrator, you figured out how to make merch really dope. There's so many ways you could like kick a door open. That some haters are gonna be like, yeah, he just got on that tour because he got everybody free merch design or free. It's like, yeah, that's fucking smart. I wish I thought of that.
The only reason he made the NBA is because he's tall.
Yeah.
Like,
And
well,
just so those people
he worked
know,
really hard in the mornings. Yeah, he did.
just so those gatekeepers know, if there's somebody really shitty who gets in by accident that way, then they'll eventually weed themselves out because they won't be able to make it. You know what I mean? For example, if I'm a really terrible comedian and I start throwing my own shows,
Right.
eventually people will realize that I'm shitty.
Yeah, it's not enough.
You also have to be good, but don't
You'll
hate
tread
on
water
somebody.
you'll tread water for a minute, but it
Don't
won't.
hate on somebody who's good or trying to be good and who goes a different door than you did, because that's just the way fucking life works.
People who
Wow,
are the angriest
get
about
it.
all that shit. The people who are the most upset are the ones who are getting left behind. It's like being the guy who's had the last fucking horse-drawn carriage, being the maddest at Henry Ford. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
man, those fucking
exactly what
those
it
motor
is.
cars are
And
unreliable.
I
Those
make a
things are-
vow to like not be like that when I'm older. Like I really hope that I'm never like that, where I'm just like, oh, these new VR kids don't know. Like,
Yeah, they don't know how to actually really kill anybody.
Oh, you're not having real vaginal sex. You having virtual vag.
B, I used to actually walk to the store. Now you just virtually walk to the
Flesh
store.
is best. I'm gonna like protest.
You're going to be seen as a fleshist then at that point.
wow, this segment's going really well.
Livest. You're going to be a livest.
Each one of these little questions is like spawning like a bunch
Jess,
of other conversations.
can you pat yourself on the back after the podcast?
No, do it now for
this
sure.
segment's going so well.
Email us and let
my
us know.
God.
It's so funny. We've been so excited. I've adjusted our level so many times, and we keep peaking anyways. And so I've been like acting as sound man this whole episode. So our apologies to the listeners if we've been blowing your eardrums out the entire time.
Yeah, sorry,
Maybe it might be okay. I don't know, but it's just I'll make note while midway through. I apologize. We've been busting out those fucking eardrummies.
All right.
Okay.
Keep going.
People who catch the unfollow. When guys post thirsty sexual photos,
Thank
for
you.
example,
That's an immediate delete. That's not even an unfollow. For
Somebody recently posted one of those like I just need a girl who could match this sexual drive and like
and he's
stamina.
Like, top off and like
And meanwhile, his profile picture is like a fucking
400 pounds.
no, it's not even him. You know what I mean? It's like some like picture from like 1992. And I just wrote, I'm like, well, you need someone to match that thirst. And I hate to troll, and I should be above that. But what I love is like, and then like a day later, you liked my comment.
Oh yeah.
Remember? And then and then I messaged you, and I was like, dude, I hate those people. You're like, those people are the fucking worst. And it's just like, dude, we get it, man. We're all sexual. I get it, but you don't need to.
what was this
you don't
one?
need. It's just one of those like it was a meme where like I was like fucking girl from behind and grabbing her head and like
yes,
pulling it
exactly
so
what it
like
was.
violently
Yeah.
back. And by the way,
I just needed
that happens
really
to be one of my. Like, I like fucking from behind and pull. That's fine, but it's just like this. I need a girl who can match my sexual stamina. It's like what? Who talks like that?
the example that I gave is a man's hand grabbing a girl's ass, and that says, "If you're in a relationship with me, you better get
Yeah.
used to this." What?
And listen, also we do that. I grab your ass a lot.
Yeah, but you don't
it's
have
so
to say that.
tasteless to
Post
share
it.
that.
Yeah, it's like it's just what I'm talking about. It's tacky.
Yeah.
The more sexual it is, the less laid you get. Because
Yeah.
I would put all of the chips on that.
Oh yeah, I'm guaranteed.
Yeah, there's no.
Or maybe the less quality laid you get, because I
Oh
bet
yeah,
you.
maybe you're getting fucked by like married men in the bathroom at your local Arby's, but that doesn't mean.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't know that they necessarily get laid
No,
less.
trust me on
I
this
just
one.
think that the
Trust,
quality.
just trust me on this one.
Yeah.
I'm an
Another
Arbysologist.
example I get is, or I have here is
How many
when,
examples did you bring?
Well, I just
Example number 992.
in case any
You can bear with
listeners
me
are
for
like,
Hey Tynan, you want
3
some
hours?
breakfast? You want some breakfast? I'll make some
I'll go through
cornflakes.
the rest of my examples if you can bear with us. Okay, this is day 3 of the Jess examples.
Oh, so if I knew we were going to go this long,
Am
I
I
would have
giving
called
too many
Guinness.
examples?
No.
I just feel like
Fucking shaving and changing my clothes while we're listening.
I just feel like if someone's listening and they're like, like, oh, I haven't seen these types of posts on my Facebook. And
Jessica.
maybe I'll say.
Did you really just say there's somebody listening? They've not seen any of these types of posts.
We are also people who have a lot of people on our Facebook. Some people
true, I guess.
only accept their friends.
I'm not saying they've seen all
like
of
their
these, but they've seen
personal
one
friends
of
requests.
Or I mean,
Okay.
okay, to segue from this, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna bring it up. I hope not.
them. No, she's got 10 more, bro. So hurry up.
Equally as bad as that is the ones who are, it's like a dude like polishing his a gun, and then the caption's like, I keep my friends close, my enemies closer. Never trust the ones that stab you in the back. And it's like a guy like holding a gun. It's like
a weird, like blurry picture. Yeah.
or like two male lions like fighting and like heart of a lion, soul of a friend. Like, like dude,
If the only time we talk is when I text you, you're not a real friend.
And it's like you said, anybody who posts any of that kind of shit, that's not who they actually are.
I
Guy makes the loyalty post, and then the next day is, I was cheating on my baby mama. The last like,
I really hate the people who posted like the local rappers. They posted like, if you don't support me here, and it's like local rap venue, you don't call me when I'm. It's like the O2 Arena. It's like, fam, I think you've overestimated your trajectory.
That place got 100,000 people, dude. It's like Elton John played there once.
Also, another one that
I don't know if you're on an Elton John trajectory.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Another one that I heard you bring up recently was like I see you support Jay-Z's new album, but you don't support me. And it's just like, of course.
Yeah. Why are you out here supporting Kehlani's album if you have to support your local artists? I'm like, if local artists are as hot and talented as Kehlani, fam, sign me up. I'll be in the fan club. I'll be front row wearing their t-shirts, waving like a finger in the air that I made with their face on it. And that's super creepy.
And I just feel like it's just counterproductive because it's just like just getting angry at your possible
Do you know what that
fans
says?
is just like not a good
Do you know what
look.
that says really? It says the status or the meme or whatever that says, how come you support Rihanna but not your local artist? It just says lower the bar. If you know me, I want you to lower the bar. And it's like, well, fam, I'm not gonna listen to mediocre music when I'm working out like I work out. What a fucking
He
example.
says this like he works out.
Or while
You eat lasagna.
while I eat this pussy,
Okay.
while I'm playing VR, while I'm making money, I'm not gonna listen to poorly mixed music. And I say that generally, so there's no offense to one person, but if you're still finding your voice, if it's poorly
I'm
mixed,
listening to you.
maybe if I have like an emotional connection to you as a human, I'll go, I'll listen to give you my 2 cents or whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to realize how people work. When you're partying, you're not supporting. Dude, when you're turning up, you're not like, let's support someone from our hometown. That's not how that works.
Man, he was the 8th artist in the Raekwon show
Now,
2 years ago. We should.
If you're from my hometown and you're dope, then I play it.
Yeah.
Oseimer, Philly Moves, how many times I played
That's a different thing.
weekday every other fucking weekday when I was turning up.
Yeah.
I have
What?
one more.
Do
Okay.
it.
When someone posts, what Disney character would you be quizzes?
Oh my god, that's not an unfollow for me.
It's just like an eye roll.
Yeah, maybe it is an unfollow.
The problem for me is it's always Mulan, so I just don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah.
Every
Always
time
Mulan.
I take it is Mulan.
Any of those stupid things like
No, you know what my least favorite one is? Can I tell you my least favorite one is? There's like 9 rappers and it says one has to go.
Or one has
or
to
like,
go.
Why?
You have to make your top 3.
Why
Go.
does one have to go?
Why can't I just like them all?
Why does one have to go?
Yeah.
Like is there a reason one must go? Or there's a line. It's like birthdays. April, T.I. May, Lil Yachty. Oh, I'm fucked. I got Lil Yachty on my birthday. Oh, I'm fucked.
Lil Yachty's dope, by the way.
No, I love Yachty.
You're on a desert island. A zombie's attacking you. You can only bring 3 things. What are they? And,
And they're the last 3 things that you touched.
They're the 5th photo on your
exactly.
post. The 5th photo on your photo dial.
That's what you're gonna fuck.
No cheating. Make my day. Post the 5th photo. No cheating.
My day, no cheating. Yeah.
Why? I have 2 questions. 1, why does that make your day?
Why does that make your day?
2, if you want me to make your day, why can't I cheat and post the best photo?
Do you really want to see the one I fucked up? That's just my
These are unfocused priorities. What if the fifth photo was just a screenshot of my grocery list?
Yeah.
Is that going to really make your day?
Blurry,
Because
too.
guess what? The sixth photo is the time I went to Egypt with like, my mom and her
It's
sister.
a guy going over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
That's going to make your day.
The blurry picture of my foot when I was trying to take a picture of my cat.
Or when they say, push the middle button and see what it says, I just write some fucked up shit. Like the body's in the trunk is starting to smell like onions.
What's your stripper name? Take like your
What's your
birthday.
stripper name?
Throb low.
I'm Throbby Williams.
Woo!
I
Austin
almost married a guy with the last name Jax.
I'm
And
sorry, what? You almost married a guy?
No, I didn't almost marry him. I was just with him for a couple of years.
Whoa.
Eric
No, I
had the
didn't
laundry
almost-
on damaged goods.
Hold the reindeers.
I didn't. It's a bit. It didn't. I didn't actually almost marry
My
him. I was
former
just with him
/
for a
current
bit.
husband.
But the joke is that I almost married a guy with the last name Jax, and I would have been Jessica Jax, which is either a really dope superhero
It's a Marvel character.
or a
Yeah.
porn star.
Or like a Tomb Raider-esque style, like badass. Like no superpowers, just like machine guns.
You know what's funny is Jess and I went to the cottage on the weekend, and I'll ease in because we don't have to get into it really. But
Okay, wait, is this part of the you eased in? Was it part
yeah,
of the story?
you'll hear the ease in. We both spilled the beans on dirty laundry from like the first week we got together.
Out of like a family cottage?
No, we were just hanging out, me, her, and some friends.
Oh.
Our
Okay.
friends.
And then somebody said something, and I was like, "Wow!" And then Jess was like, "No," and I was like,
I feel like if you're going to bring it up, we just have to say it.
"Yeah." So basically, I slept with somebody like 2 days after meeting Jess, but it was in a time that later on she's like, "I always count from the first time we got together from that first
Yeah,
date."
because we celebrate our anniversary on our first
and
date.
I never
so
counted
this
that
would
way.
be before he slept with somebody.
I think I'm siding with Jess.
Hear me out. Before Jess,
It's okay. There's more to the story.
in the first 3 months, I thought like, well, like let's say the first like 2 months we were in a relationship, I was like, oh, we're been together for 2 months, and then at a certain point we got to like a number, and Jess is like, oh, we've been this 4 months, and I was like, 4 months? That's not what I count. And she's like, I count from the day we had our first date, and I was like, oh, that means that girl I fucked on St. Patrick's Day was a problem.
Yeah.
And so of course I didn't say anything because I was falling in love, and she's the best girl I ever met. And then somebody brought something up, and I was just like, maybe now's a good time to rinse that one
so
lie out of
now
the
that we're in front of
situation.
other people, it's safe to bring up.
So you brought it up for the first time in front of these other people.
They're like our best friends.
Okay.
That's still absolutely insane to
for,
me.
for listeners,
Okay.
it's Katie who came on the podcast. It's like our
Yes.
best friends.
Okay.
And one of the things we do with these particular friends is like
It's
super
like air
brutal
really brutally
honesty,
honest stuff.
and like we practice radical honesty with these friends. And that's why when the camera went in this direction, I'm like, if there's ever a time to not be weird about this one thing that happened
Yeah.
before I even knew you were the one, today's the day to say it.
Yeah.
And it was just like I started sweating because I was just like,
It's so funny.
I tried to swallow it down because I was like, it's not me. I don't cheat. I've never cheated on anyone, let alone my fiance and future wife. But this happened like moments after we met. And
Yeah.
before I knew what it was going to be, you know what I mean? But I got in the habit of lying about it.
Yeah.
And
well,
then I was
it
just like,
takes on its whole new shape at that point.
exactly. So now she knows, and now the listeners know.
Yeah.
And then she goes,
and just so-
and she fucking had one, bro.
Okay, first of all, just so everyone knows,
She fucking had one.
Okay, on noting on his
This
thing,
is spicy.
mine's not as bad.
Okay.
But-
Or worse.
Or worse, depending on how you look at it.
I think worse.
But
personally.
also the second note.
Can you wait? This
I'll
is
be the
great
impartial
because you love
Yes.
both of us. So I
The
want
second note that I
Judge
just want to
Tynan
give is that I
to
really
weigh
don't mind. It really doesn't bother me at all, and it hasn't changed anything.
Me
and
neither.
I found it hilarious. I was actually like excited when he told me because it's like you kind of once you've been together for so long, you don't get any drama anymore. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
like same old, same old. So he gave me like a little bit of drama, and I was like, ooh,
Yes.
give me that drama. So mine was that. So I was kind of dating a guy before we got together, but
not really dating as
not
far
really
as you told me.
We had been on a couple dates.
Yes.
But nothing happened. We never kissed. We never had sex. Nothing ever. We just went on a couple dates. And then 2 weeks into me and Anthony seeing each other, I went out again with this guy, but at that point we had already kind of discussed that like it wasn't really going to work. Like we were just kind of like, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know.
Whatever. Victory
Yeah,
lap.
we had already. So I naively, as Anthony puts it, went out with him for another drink and just thought it would be fun. I hang out with a lot of guys. Like I have a
She'd
lot
been
of
out with
guy
a
friends.
couple of dates with.
This is also a guy who's mutual friends with a lot of my friends. It's not like it was like
might as well throw him a bone then, I guess.
3 weeks ago, she had been on a date with this guy.
yeah. And so
Wait, 3 weeks
we went
ago?
on a date. Or sorry, we went for drinks.
Jess and I had been like dating for 2 weeks, so probably 3 or 4 weeks before she had been out with this guy. Is my guess, right?
Or
Like,
probably a little more than that, but yeah, because I don't think it was that close.
would it have been more than a month before me that you went out with him previously?
It was. I don't know for sure. But
Roughly.
It's probably like
What does
about
it feel
a month.
like?
It was
About a month?
probably about a month.
Okay, there you go. So probably 6 weeks ago at this point, she had been on a date with this guy.
Yeah. And we were still talking like via Facebook and stuff, but not nothing crazy though. They're just
Are you
like,
still
hey,
talking?
are you going to?
Some say it's some,
we still
some
have
say
it.
there's
Someday they're
Anthony's
still talking.
met him. Some say they're still.
Okay,
So-
sorry, continue.
so she goes out for drinks with
So
this
we
guy.
went out for drinks.
Tanner.
Which
And
she
at the-
did tell me that she would go.
Yeah,
she
I
went for
told
drinks.
him we were going out.
I
I was
went
like,
for
I'm
drinks
going
with a
out for
friend.
drinks with my friend. And then
Did not say as a guy she had been on dates
at
with
the
yet.
end of the date, he kissed me.
Right.
And I kissed back. It wasn't like a crazy kiss. It was.
How was it?
2
was
weeks. 2
okay. It was a
weeks
good
into
kiss.
Out of
seeing
10.
me. Keep this in mind. This is 2 weeks.
I would
into
say
seeing
it was
me.
like a 7 out of 10. It was a
Okay,
good kiss.
whatever.
It was a good kiss. And then
not
instantly, when I got back inside, I messaged him and said, I'm actually seeing somebody, and I thought we kind of discussed like that blah 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 this wasn't happening. And he was like, oh, you should have told me that. I wouldn't have kissed you. So like he was very cool about it and was just like, oh, I didn't realize, and like
nice.
blah blah. So it was just like a thing that happened, and I never really took it that seriously. And I always would have told you if for some reason it came up. Like it was just like I just didn't take it that. It wasn't that big a
there's
deal.
No reason
You know
to
what I mean?
Volunteer that knowledge.
Are you,
Yeah,
are you done
exactly.
presenting any evidence?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay,
Tynan, so again to summarize, I slept with a girl. I think 2 or 3 days after our first date,
right.
before our second date.
Right.
Mine
I
was
never
about
told
2
Jess.
weeks.
2 weeks. We would have probably had 3 or 4 dates.
Yeah.
But we hadn't slept together yet.
Yeah, we hadn't slept together yet.
But we'd made out, but we hadn't slept together yet.
Okay.
And she,
No talk about exclusivity yet.
no, nothing like that. Although, keep in mind that for the anniversary, she counts 2 weeks before this date as being the
Okay.
day of.
Yes.
So, which one is worse?
I think, okay, first of all, I just want to say, if you take it just down to brass tacks, I think the like power of the sex, the full sex act would be my first instinct.
Yes.
But the timeline is that's really what it boils down to.
I understand.
Like what's worse, the timeline or the act? But the fact that you guys hadn't even slept together by the time either of these
yeah,
things
we
have
hadn't
happened,
slept together yet.
and I don't think that either of them matter at all.
Yeah,
And
I agree. That is really what it boils down to. Is neither of them
for
matter.
me, like that would be the breaking point. Although even like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard.
I'm
to
pro
think
that.
about.
That works.
You know what I mean? It's if it's, and yeah, you just can't get mad about it's shit that happened. Like think about this. I remember my mom telling me this a long time ago when I was like getting in a fight with somebody about exactly the same thing. It was like we'd been together for 6 months and she told me at like 2 weeks she had like hooked up with a guy, and I was like so mad about it. My mom was like, if this is the girl you're gonna be with forever, think about if you're with her for 50 years. Do you really think in that whole fucking 50 years you're going to be worried about that thing that happened 2 weeks into the... You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
You can't... I mean, obviously it gets to a certain point where it becomes an issue.
It's also I think, and the reason why it's not a problem is it's also a different thing to be like, we were still deciding if this was going to be something really permanent and serious, and
Yeah.
and should I be prioritizing this person over other experiences? And then I mean it was within the time that we were deciding that, right? So that's why it's okay. It's not a problem.
It was also a weird foggy period for both of us because
Yep.
I had just broken up with somebody too, which I told you there was some overlap. I never had sex with my ex while me and you were dating. But for example, he still had stuff at my house and we were still
I
fighting
remember.
at the time.
Yep.
And I was completely honest about that. I'm like, my ex is still coming over, picking up stuff. We're
That's
still
more of
fighting.
like a legit thing that you have to kind of divulge.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a weird thing with that. And then I won't say your thing because I don't want to air out your drama. But you also had, lingering drama as well.
Yeah. I had a
funny that
dramatic
that
ex
you aired it
situation.
out like live in front of 2 people.
Well, yeah, and they were like,
Yeah, I
Jaw
loved
dropped.
it. I was so excited.
But it was fun, yeah. After I whispered, I'm like, "Are we good?" She's like, "Of course." I'm like, "Just making sure."
Sweet.
yeah, no,
Because
it honestly, like,
we've been together for years since then. 100%, just faithful, and like we just do what we say we're gonna
and
do.
this
and
is
we're
the
not, we don't
important
fuck
part
around.
too to me is that if Anthony ever gave me the indication that he was shady and that he was cheating on me while he's on tour or whatever,
Yeah.
I would have felt differently about that. You know what I mean? I would have been like, what the fuck? But he really has never given me any reason to not trust him or any indication that shady stuff's going on. So I was just like, oh, that's just hilarious.
My thing is, I like to be very in the moment, and so if I'm going to be single and like chase women, that's cool. I've had moments in my life where that was my favorite thing to do, but if I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do that. So it's not so much about but just blind. I just, my whole thing is I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. I'm going to do well, right? Because if I'm going to be single, I don't want to be like single 10% of the time, and so I'd have to lie and hide and like checking my phone. Like that's stressful. Single.
Man,
I want to just be single if I'm going to be single.
Dudes like our age are like dating a chick for 10 years and like the
Trust
whole
me.
time they're have like 4 texts. Can you imagine the stress and pressure? Like,
No, I'm not with it.
even if like I wanted to be a shady dude, I just couldn't handle it.
No, I
don't have that
I
capability
agree.
to like.
I say that all the time.
I have to hide my phone. And,
I'm
like,
faithful and good, but sometimes I'm like, but I just don't know if I have it in me. Like maybe I was like almost made to be like that because I find the whole idea stressful.
Yeah. Even
it's-
just being single was stressful for me. And it got to the point I was like,
That's what I was just gonna say.
I was like relieved when I met someone I fell in love
The
with.
experience of being out in the world and constantly having to seek approval. And as a guy, I'm going to be real. I always felt the pressure that like, oh,
We're getting laid
you need to
enough,
get laid more.
I
Like you're
know.
not. I had, and because I'm an entertainer, I hung around good-looking people. Like our boy Capital E, like without even airing his thing, like he was an actor and a good-looking guy, so he just did well with women. You know what I mean? Like you always did well with women, and I'm a good-looking guy enough as well, but I was always a little bit more neurotic about women, and I wasn't so much about going and hitting on all the girls at the bar. And so I just found myself always just like worried that I wasn't fucking enough. You know what I mean?
Constantly.
I got
That's
plenty,
so much
but
pressure, man.
it's just the being a guy is really tough. And I wonder if girls, me and Jess talk about it a lot. I wonder if girls know how tough it is to be a guy, in that there's this constant need for approval from the girl, because there's this like guy saying, hey, I'd like to sleep with you, even if you're being like the most polite. There's this polite mating dance of like, hey,
we
I'm
both
interested.
know what I'm after. Yeah.
Is this, of course I'd love to talk with you as well, but I'm also interested in having sex with you. And then while you're having sex, there's this like approval process. And then with the guys, it's like, are you getting hot enough girls frequently enough to impress the guys? It's a long list of people that need to be
Sucks, man.
impressed. And then you bring a girl home and you're like, I hope mom. And don't get me wrong, girls have some of those things too. But there's a reason there's like this like cliche, like bring a girl home to mom, because there's this fucking heavy like approval process as a guy. I feel like where you're constantly trying to like impress the girl, and then the girl has to be impressive to the people in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if it's the same thing for
like-
girls or not,
Yeah.
but for guys, it's
Well.
fucking really intense.
It would just, I hate having to go out with like a bunch of, especially when everybody has girlfriends and stuff now, but when you're younger and you go out with like
There
a
we go.
group of your guy friends, there was always this like, you gotta try to like, and it's like, why can't we just fucking like chill and have fun and like have fun together?
I think it sounds like for this next generation, there's a little bit more of that going on.
Definitely. Things have changed for sure.
You know what I mean? And
Especially
it's not just about being skinny. Like you see more and more where it's like thick girls are getting the same kind of appreciation, and I'm sure thick girls will be like, it's not even close. I get that, but I'm just seeing more and more of those like lines coming down, and interesting looking people.
Oh yeah, being seen as attractive.
You know what I mean?
And just everybody hanging out together.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I feel like there's not the like in my high school, and I'm sure with both of you guys too. Even like we're not that much older than, but like I still feel like there was these harsh lines between the like stereotypical like jock, stoner, nerd, like.
Yeah.
And I feel like those barriers are all kind of slowly being
Yeah, I think the
dissolved
internet
now too.
and like shared
They're
culture is
changing
helping
at
to
least,
break
for
those down a little
Dorky
bit.
boys are like the hot kids in school and like whatever, you know what I mean?
You're right.
It's- which is cool.
No matter what, there's always going to be lines. There's
for
always
sure.
going to be bullies.
Especially in that demographic.
But I think you can set up the reward systems as such that the bullying isn't rewarded. You know what I mean?
No, the cool guy's not the bully anymore.
And I think they've figured that out. It's it's become cool to be environmental. It's become cool to be anti-violence.
Yeah.
I think that's why
the cool kid is the one that stands up to the bully and says like, "Let's calm down, everybody."
We really saw them push that kind of down our throats as kids, and now I feel like it kind of paid off and took root.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. These are positive moments from Damaged Goods podcast.
Do you know what time we're at?
Yeah, we have to come up on the end really soon. I want to touch on my album only because by the time this comes out, it's going to be like a couple days before my album release, and we don't really talk about music a lot on this podcast. But I don't put out a lot of albums every year. And so if you're listening, if you're one of right now, basically we're kind of doing like 200 to 400 people listening to an episode. And so that's been really fun.
What's up, y'all?
We've been starting to get some feedback. So if you're one of those people, and if you listen to Spotify or iTunes or however you listen to music, my album is called Anti-Gravity. It comes out April 20th.
By Ill Vibe.
It's we didn't choose 420 on purpose. Initially, it was going to be March 16th. But then it was coming up so fast and I really wanted to get my shit together. And so we pushed it back by just a month, and I thought 420 would be fun. So April 20th, it's like 10 songs. It is by far my best music. Meyer Clarity executive produced it. So it's like musically, it's like that next place. Right before this podcast, I did a podcast interview and he was asking about the album. And I was telling him that on We Are the Aliens, my last album, my last best piece of work, it was musically so great, but because it was this like weird side project alien sci-fi thing, it really, I think people felt like, oh, this is just like a weird side thing. This is not what Ill Vibe sounds like now. You know what I mean? And so this new album is like that's like the level of the quality of music we did on Aliens, but now kind of put through my voice and my style and my sound. So we made like pop, funky, folk, like songs inspired by Pharrell and Calvin Harris and like Justin Timberlake. And like it's hip hop, but with so many other elements in it. And it's like exponentially my best music ever. On Sunday, they're debuting Woklahoma, which is the second single on Strombo's show. And it's like he just tweets out like new music from Ill Vibe Sunday, and it's like being Canadian, that's fucking cool.
Huge, man,
You know what I mean?
For those of you who don't know the Strombo show, that's George
Strombolopoulos. He's basically Canada's best music journalist.
Yeah.
Best and biggest music journalist.
From Much Music back in the day. And now he's got his own show.
Yeah, he's that guy. He's been a tastemaker of music in Canada for like 2 decades now, right? And so having him debut your thing is cool. And so that happens this Sunday, just a couple of days from now. And then it's like we got TV all next week and Sirius XM and building into the album release next Friday, April 20th. If you live in Toronto, it's the show. For people obviously everywhere else in the world that isn't Toronto, which is all of the other cities.
Non-Toronto places.
The music will be everywhere, and get ready for lots of fun content and videos and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so much appreciate your support. Streaming helps. If you're supporting and you want to think like, how can I help? Add it to a playlist, play it, post it, share it. All those things tell Spotify and Apple Music that this song is cool and something that you like, and that helps me. So Anti-Gravity, April 20th. Super excited. Pop, pop, pop.
Do you have anything you want to plug, Tynan? Do you want to plug like your Instagram, anything?
Fuck. I mean, you can check me out at what is my Instagram? At Tragic? No, at Tynan Tragic? Yeah, at Tynan Tragic is my Instagram.
We'll also tag him on our Instagram and whatnot. So you can follow us on at Damaged Goods Pod on Twitter and on Instagram. And on Facebook, just search Damaged Goods Podcast.
What's that?
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, very much.
Peace out.
Thanks, everyone.
Till next time.
Shout out to my wife.
The crowd goes wild.